Yes.
So we're live, so I'll begin the meeting. This is the Thursday, January 12th meeting of Berkeley's Zoning Adjustment Board, our first meeting of 2023. I hope it's a good one for everybody involved. I will first read the public advisory. This meeting will be conducted exclusively through video conference and teleconference pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E in the state declared emergency. This meeting of the Zoning Adjustments Board will be conducted exclusively through teleconference and Zoom video conference. The COVID-19 state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of the members to meet safely in person and presents imminent risks to the health of attendees. Therefore, no physical meeting location will be available tonight. To access the meeting remotely, well, you're already accessed it if you can hear. If you are joining from a PC, Mac, iPod, iPhone, or Android. Oh gosh, this is a little complicated. If you do not wish for your name to appear on the screen, you'll have, what we've learned is you have to leave, come back, and you'll have an opportunity to change your name when you come on. And you can just write anonymous if you want. If you wish to speak and you're on a laptop or computer, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a series of icons, and one of them shows a little hand. It says raise hand. And when you roll your mouse across it, you can click on that. There will be specific times during the hearing tonight when the chair will invite comments from the public or from this panel or other attendees. And when you're invited to participate, please raise your hand so that we know how many people will be speaking on a given subject. And so we can recognize you. If you're calling by phone, you won't be able to click on an icon because there may not be one available. So in that case, you will have to click *9 when it's your turn to speak, and you'll be recognized by the chair. Please be aware that the teleconference will be recorded, as all ZAB meetings are, and all of the other rules of procedure and decorum that we apply in a meeting in person will apply just as well to this meeting conducted by teleconference or video conference. That is pretty much the required reading before we launch into preliminary matters, which begin with roll call.
Okay, great, thank you. When I read your name, please indicate if you are present and if you have any ex parte. Board Member Trigu?
Present. I have one ex parte to report on 1752 Shattuck Avenue. I received a couple of emails from Doug Halperin. I believe that it was the same emails that are in your packet.
Okay, thank you. Duffy?
Present, no ex parte.
Gaffney?
Present, and my only ex parte is that I worked for Gunkel Architecture previously, but I don't work for them anymore. And so, yeah, I'm not going to be recusing myself. Thank you.
Can you say the name of the firm one more time? I missed that.
Gunkel Architecture, they're the applicant for item number 2.
Great. Thank you. Thompson?
Present, no ex parte.
Luna Para?
Present, no ex parte.
Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Sorry, something loud just happened in the next room. Present and no ex parte.
Chairperson Khan?
Present, no ex parte.
And Sanderson?
Present, no ex parte.
Great, thank you.
That brings us to public comment on non-agended items. For this part of the hearing tonight, we invite attendees to speak on items which are not on the agenda. This would be items of general interest or particular interest for the zoning board. or others who might be at this hearing tonight, which do not pertain to any of the specific items that we'll be reviewing this evening on consent or on the active calendar. And I see I have two hands up. So the first person whose hand up is identified as John. And John, you are recognized. And I think we have 2 minutes, is that right, for these comments? Samantha, is that
I
right?
think it's 3. Is it
Great,
3
okay.
for, yeah, non-agenda
Yeah,
items.
that's right, that's right. So John, this is your 3 minutes of glory.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm not seeing anything on the video where I'm on the video, so I'm a little concerned. I sent an email, and I'm just losing everything. I said, we are concerned. This is myself and my neighbor. We live at 1769 and 1771 Spruce, and we have 2 concerns. One is our.
Now, are you referring to a specific project we're reviewing tonight?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you should be speaking on non-agenda items tonight. You will have an opportunity to speak on those items later. That this is not the proper time for,
Okay.
for the item you say on Spruce.
Yes.
I think it's
don't
the
see-
Oxford project.
Okay, the Oxford project. Okay, 1773 Oxford. Yes,
Yes.
we will ask for your comments momentarily on
Thank you.
1773, and you'll have an opportunity to speak. Thanks, John. The other person is Kelly Hammergren. Kelly is here. And I think you're recognized, Kelly.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think I'll take up all of my time, but Douglas Talamay was sponsored by the Golden Gate Audubon Society. And I believe some of you are on my email list, and I sent you the link to that, and I hope you were able to see him. But if you didn't, his talk is recorded, and I will send you the link when the recording is available. And Douglas Talamay spoke last night, of course, on native plants. That is his field. And he's well known across the country as an expert on native plants. And he said, no yard space is too small for us to have native plants, and that we should think about them even in pots. So I wanted to pass that on to all of you, that we really do need to be concerned about native plants and supporting biodiversity, because we're at a critical point. So I wanted
Thank
to.
you, Kelly.
Yeah, and then Scott Wiedensaul, who wrote The World on a Wing, is going to be speaking soon, also sponsored by the Audubon Society. And this is about bird migration. And bird migration is something we talk about with Bird Safe Glass. We have our resident birds, and then we have our migrating birds, and glass that doesn't have a screen or a film or is made bird safe with little etchings. That's really a hazard for birds. And the book, The World on a Wing, is a wonderful book. And by reading that book, I developed even more of an interest in migrating birds. And there was a little bird, a little godwit that is less than 10 ounces, who flew from Alaska to Tasmania in 11 days and 1 hour without stopping, and set a new world record. And we know about that because now we have little GPS devices that can go on these tiny birds and track them. And so there are many wonderful stories, plus a lot to think about in Scott Wiedensaul's book, and I'll send you that link.
Thank you. Sounds great. Thanks, Kelly. I don't see any other hands up for general comments. As I said to the attendees, there will be an opportunity to speak on any and all of the agenda items we have tonight, which we'll proceed with. So tonight's items they're all consistent with the planning code and the opinion of the planners who prepared their documents for this evening, and are therefore listed on the consent calendar. If anyone in the public has particular concerns about a project that is being heard tonight, I'd like you to raise your hand before we vote on the consent so we can hear what those concerns might be to see if we need to pull it from the consent calendar. We're going to handle consent in 3 batches, and this is because of the need for some of the members of this commission to recuse themselves from 2 of the specific items. The 2 items that will, all the items on consent will be considered in the first round of voting, save items number 3 and 4. So that's items 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And if you're interested in speaking on any of those items, we'd like to hear what concerns you may have so we can see if we should pull those or not. And that's if you are concerned with item 2, the 1820 San Pablo Avenue item. If you're concerned about the action minutes as presented, that was item 1. I should have mentioned that at first. Concerned about 573 Santa Rosa, 1329 Albina Avenue, 469 Kentucky Avenue, 1752 Shattuck Avenue. If you have concerns about any of those items, you will also have a chance to speak on the other 2, but just not right this minute. Now is the time to raise your hand. I see 2 hands, 3 hands raised, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me repeat. This is for items 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Okay. Cynthia, which item are you concerned about, and what is the nature of your concern?
Item 7, 469 Kentucky Avenue. And I have concerns about the size and scope of the project, but my biggest concerns about the effect of the traffic on our street. Kentucky Avenue is a 2-lane.
Okay, you'll have an opportunity to speak when we pull it from consent. Thanks, Cynthia. Catherine Seligman, which item and what is the concern? You're muted. You're muted, Catherine. We can't hear you. Catherine, we're going to need to proceed. I hope you do have a chance to speak, but you need to find a way to unmute yourself or we won't be able to hear you. I'm going to go ahead and ask Elise Geske to let us, Catherine, please let us know which item and what's the concern.
So I just spoke and I thought you heard me. I said it's item 7, 469 Kentucky Avenue.
That will be pulled and you'll have a chance to speak on it.
Right. And also my husband, Steve Bedrick, who is also on this same computer, also wanted to speak to that item, 469 Kentucky Avenue. You
each can, yes, thank you for letting us know. You'll each be given that opportunity. And I appreciate you letting me know in advance.
Thank
you.
So
you'll each receive your I don't know if it's 2 minutes. Well, we'll determine how many minutes. Elise?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My subject matter is number 8, 1752 Shattuck Avenue.
And what is the concern?
I have three things that I want to point out relative to. One is some documentation that was put into the staff report. And then I had two other additional items, one related to social noise, which my understanding is now covered under the CEQA, and height issues, and also another subsequent building 2 blocks away that is not near as high as the one that's being proposed at the 1752.
So I take from your comments, you're not in favor of the building and would like an opportunity to register
yes.
your concerns. Okay,
Yes.
we will pull that item as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug, oh yeah, and Doug is, I believe, Catherine's significant other. Is that right, Doug?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no, sorry. What?
No.
Oh, no. Okay, sorry about that.
No, I'm not. I'm here also about 1752. I submitted a letter earlier today in regards to the kind of procedural issue here that you haven't fully addressed the environmental concerns and comments that had previously been.
That's fine. We'll pull it and you'll have your chance to speak on that.
So wait, you'll pull it, and what does that mean?
That means it'll have a full public hearing and it'll take about an hour to talk about.
Okay, tonight or some other time?
Yes.
Okay,
We're pulling it from consent, not from tonight's hearing.
got it.
We're making it part of tonight's active public hearing by
Okay.
your request,
Thank you.
out of respect for your request, Doug. Okay, then D. Silver. You need to unmute.
Yes.
There you go.
Hi there. Yeah, I'd like to talk about item number 8, 1752 Shattuck, and the concerns are environmental also project.
Okay. Very good. You'll have that opportunity when we hear it in public hearing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Kelly Hammergren.
Okay, thank you. On the first, on number 2, 1820, we've reviewed this building before. And when I went to look at the final design as it's coming to the meeting, I know we don't have a lot that we can change on this. I just really kind of wanted to look at what they did with that wood front, if that's completely removed, if I'm thinking of the right building. But the way this links up in the packet that's available to the public, I get the permit page rather than usual architectural plans. So it wasn't that I was going to object to the building. I was just curious with what was happening with it and how they fixed the criticism that came from you all last time.
Yeah, thank you for that. Rather than make a full public hearing for that project, we might ask the applicant to show us the revised facade as it's currently being proposed. Let me complete these items, and then but you stay, Kelly, stay on.
Okay, and then I wanted to encourage bird safe features in all the buildings. Dark skies with lighting pointing down, native plants for any planting that they're doing, and bird safe glass, bird safe features, screening on the outside of windows. All of those would be much appreciated. I know you can't require it. I just like you to encourage it.
Thank you for continuing to raise awareness of that, Kelly. Very good. Please stay on the call. I'll call you back in when we're done here. Ren Ing, you are recognized. Which item would you like to speak on?
Item number 7, please. 469 Kentucky Avenue.
Very good. We'll be pulling that from the consent calendar, which will give you an opportunity to speak in due form. Is Yang Ming here from Gunkel Architecture?
Charles, the plans were also in the staff report, and I can share my screen.
If you can share your screen, that would be the best.
Take a look. Can you see that? So that's the front page of the plan. Oh, and actually Nilu is on.
So Nilu, the particular concern that Kelly was voicing was in regards to the wood on the front, which I think we requested be eliminated at because of maintenance concerns at design review. And I'm not sure if that request was met or not. I think that's Kelly's concern. Can you speak to that?
I think it was, and I'm trying to find the latest DRC front elevation to share my screen.
Nope, I'll stop sharing.
Sorry, 1 second. DRC, because this project went through two design reviews, and I just want to make sure that I'm showing the correct one. It could be this one. Let me share my screen. Is my screen shared? Can you see it?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I think this was the previous design, and the applicant is actually on, should be on the call. They're here.
I want to give everybody an opportunity to speak on the two items in particular that they expressed concerns about, and I want to respect everyone's time here. So Yang Ming, I thought was here. I don't see her now.
It could also be Brad. They're both going to be here. Brad Gunkel.
I don't see.
They're both here. I can promote them if you'd like.
Yeah, I just like them to speak to this particular concern. If it can be addressed to Kelly's satisfaction, she may not need to request that it be pulled from the calendar.
Hi, this is Yang Ming from Gunkel Architecture. Yes, to answer Kelly's question, we changed the wood material into corrugated metal.
Okay, so it's no longer the wood that.
Yes, no longer the wood. Yeah.
Great.
This is Brad Gunkel. Also, the one that was just brought up was I think the original version 2 versions back. So the most current version was the one that was before the design review committee second time, which had no natural wood. And we got comments from design review committee, which will be addressed when we go back before final review.
Great. And Kelly, of course, you'll have an opportunity to speak at the final as well, if you still have concerns. For some reason, you're still muted. I don't know why. But I just wanted to be sure your concern was being met and that you didn't feel the need to request that this be pulled from calendar. If you could speak to that, Kelly, I don't know. For some reason, you seem to have trouble unmuting. Don't know what the deal
I did
is.
find the latest, just if you need me to show you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. All right, very good. Thank you so much. Thanks for raising that issue. It was a concern of mine at design review as well, I have to say. We have a hand up. Is there anyone on this commission who would like to? We will be pulling items 7 and 8, Kentucky Avenue and Shattuck Avenue, from the consent calendar, and they'll become part of our public hearing. Are there any other items that this committee has, of those listed 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, or 8, that you have concerns about that maybe staff can address now, or that would require that they be pulled, that item be pulled from consent? Igor, I see your hand is up. Cecilia, I see your hand is up. I'll recognize you in turn. Igor?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask staff to clarify on the action minutes. Perhaps there's a different copy that I should be looking at, but the one I have doesn't actually have a vote count. on, I think, any of the projects except for item 2, approval of the ZAB meeting schedule. So I would actually like to request that the minutes be held over unless there's something that I'm missing. I'm happy to hear from staff on that.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm seeing that on the first page of the action minutes, there's the votes on the consent calendar. And I think what happened is that we normally will add the vote to like each item on the consent calendar. And I think that that vote that's there did not get carried over.
So let me ask you, the copy, for instance, we denied the permit for 2000 San Pablo Avenue on the action calendar. And I don't see a vote count for that, nor do I see a vote count for action calendar item 4, 1200 Dwight. Is there a maybe I'm looking at a older copy?
No, mine has it. My copy has it.
Okay.
It's between the motion and the action.
I believe you. I just
right.
Not the copy.
And I believe that you have something that's supposed to show it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't seem to have it either, for what it's worth, and neither does Michael. Seems shaking his head.
Okay, why don't we carry it to the next meeting then?
That's what Igor is recommending, and I will procedurally honor that request, Igor, as we can't vote on something that is not the actual item we intend to be voting on.
Great. And then the 1820 San Pablo Avenue, I believe staff just needs to read into the record additional condition. So whoever makes that motion, or I'm happy to do so. I want to wait for Cecilia first.
Okay. Yeah, let's hear Cecilia, and then if you could make a motion to that effect, Igor, that would be tremendous. Cecilia.
Thank you. Yeah, I just have a question on item 5, 573 Santa Rosa Avenue, and they're adding a 7th bedroom, and I'm just wondering what the limit is for like a change to be counted as group living accommodations with the number of bedrooms. Like, what is that? Where is that line where it starts counting as group living accommodations versus not?
I can tackle that, Samantha, and tell me if I'm getting it wrong. Cecilia, a good question. Group living accommodations are defined in the code, to my knowledge, as any accommodation where you do not have a household renting the apartment. And and a household is described elsewhere as a group of people with shared living expenses. So typically, my understanding in policy terms, what the planning department looks for is if there is one lease for all of the tenants in a building, that's obviously a common living expense, and that qualifies as a household. Shared food expenses could also qualify as a household, but it isn't the number of bedrooms, although until recently, if you had as many as 5, 6, 7, or 8 bedrooms, de facto, it couldn't be a household because it was so hard to organize. I actually lived in a household of 7 people. We each had our own bedroom. When I was first a student here, it was the only way I could afford to live here. And we did have shared living expenses and a shared lease. So that was 1 unit. So it isn't defined based on the number of bedrooms, but really the way that it is managed. And a GLA is managed more or less an SRO, a single resident hotel is a form of a GLA, where you've got bedrooms but no common kitchen facilities. A dormitory is conventional, like school dormitory is considered a GLA because the students don't share each other's living expenses.
I can read the definition.
Yeah, please go for it, Samantha.
From the code. Group living accommodation is a building or portion of a building designed for or accommodating a residential use by persons not living together as a household, This use includes dormitories, convents, monasteries, and other types of organizational housing, excludes hospitals, nursing homes, and tourist hotels. Group living accommodations typically provide shared living quarters without separate kitchen or bathroom facilities for each room or unit. Residential hotels and senior congregate housing are separately defined types of group living accommodations.
Beautiful. I think I got it right.
You were like,
But
yeah,
there's
you
nothing like,
had all.
there's nothing like reading the actual verbiage. Thanks for looking it up, Samantha. Any other questions about that, Cecilia?
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Great, thanks. In that case, I'd like to entertain a motion for the consent calendar. Igor, you have your hand up.
Okay, I'd like to approve the consent calendar, which will include not the minutes, but item 2, 1820 San Pablo Avenue, subject to what staff is going to read into the record. As part of the motion, a continuance of 2439 Durand.
Actually, we're not voting on 3 or 4 tonight. Not right now, because we have, that's we're recused on those. But yes, if you could speak to 5 and 6, that would be great.
Yeah, so including 573 Santa Rosa Avenue, 6, 1329 Albina. Let me see if there was anything on Santa Rosa. I don't think so. Yeah, I think that is it. And with the further recommendation that, as applicable, applicants will consider bird safe glass and native plantings.
Thank you for that. I'll be happy to second your motion. Samantha, if you can take a vote.
Before we do, I'm going to have
oh yes, read in the solar conditions for 1820 San Pablo.
Correct.
Okay, so there are 2 conditions, one for bike parking and one for the solar PV. So the condition for the bike parking is secure and on-site parking, bike parking for at least 8 short-term and 44 long-term bicycles shall be provided for the life of the building. And then the condition for the solar PV is solar photovoltaic, solar PV, and battery energy storage system, ESS. The condition is a solar PV system shall be installed subject to specific limited exceptions as specified by the Berkeley Energy Code BMC Chapter 19.36. Energy storage system, ESS readiness, new single family duplex and townhouse homes, or ESS installation, new multifamily and most non-residential buildings shall be completed as specified by BMC Chapter 19.36. Location of the solar PV system and the ESS, if applicable, shall be noted on the construction plans.
Chair Khan, you're muted.
Thanks, Claudia. I was thanking Nilu for those comments, and that will now read into the record will become conditions for 1820 San Pablo Avenue at the conclusion of this vote. Samantha, can you take roll call?
Yes. So this is to approve moving the 12/8/22 action minutes to the February 9th, 2023 meeting to correct the voting record. Approve item number 2, 1820 San Pablo with 2 added conditions, 1 for bike parking, 1 for solar, and to approve items number 5, 573 Santa Rosa, and number 6, 1329 Albina.
Correct.
Board member Trigu.
Aye.
Duffy.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Luna Para.
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Keefe.
Yes.
Chair Khan
Yes.
and Sanderson.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
The motion carries and the items 2, 5, and 6 are approved. We have 2 more consent calendar items that need to be addressed, which, as I said at the beginning, require shuffling of our commission. The first one is item number, I'm going to do in this order, item number 4, which I understand that from yes, that you have a interest in that project. So if you would wish to be recused, we can have you relegated, I think, to an attendee. And while we take that.
So now that we're in the meeting, I cannot move you to
I didn't think so.
I
So
could
please-
do it before it
Yeah.
started.
So yes, what we've learned from Zoom is the best thing for you to do is to turn off your screen, mute your sound, simply do not participate. And when we're done, you can rejoin us once the vote is taken.
You got it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So before we move to vote on this item, I want to give again the attendees an opportunity to express any concerns they may have about the item and to request that it be pulled for public hearing if need be. And I see I do have one hand up, LB. LB, do you have a concern about this item number 4, 1773 Oxford?
Yes, and can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm just I'm a longtime resident and neighbor, and I'm requesting that you please postpone the approval of the permit, and maybe that the ZAB could carry out an environmental impact study on the project.
I take it you have objections to the project?
Yes.
Okay, then you'll have an opportunity to voice those objections because I will be pulling that item from consent and we'll be moving it to public hearing tonight.
Great. Okay.
Thank you. Jeannie Marachuk?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I wanted to ask, I'm also a longtime resident and neighbor, one street over on Spruce Street, and I'm very worried about the traffic congestion and the parking situation. I mean, if we have 48 more cars.
That's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you, Jeannie, because you'll have an opportunity to speak, as will Carol and Kelly on this item when we make it a public hearing item. That item will no longer be considered for consent as we are going to give the public an opportunity to voice their concerns for the record on the item and give this commission an opportunity to consider those concerns. There is one final item, number 3, which I believe is a request for a continuance, though it's not noted as such here. And I have to recuse myself from that. So I will pass the gavel to Shoshana.
Hello.
Hey, and I will mute myself and let you take it away, Shoshana.
Okay, go away, Charles. Samantha, do you want to update us about it's now they're requesting a continuance?
Correct. This is for 2439 Durant, and the applicant has requested a continuance to allow additional time to respond to the Berkeley Police Department and staff recommendations.
Okay, so just to do everything completely, I'm going to check in with the public to see if anyone has any concerns. But just to be clear, it says on the agenda, it looks like it's going to be a hearing, or we're going to approve it. But if we leave it on consent and approve this part of the consent calendar, it will not be approved tonight. It'll be moved to a later date. So does anyone have a objection about that? Raise your hand now. Kelly does. Is that real, or is that hand already up? Okay, Kelly, you have an objection to us continuing this?
Actually, I wanted to follow up on the vote that you just took. I didn't hear Samantha read the native plant and the dark sky and the bird safe features in the motion. Did I miss that? Is it included as?
That was in the first motion. It wasn't, I don't think we included it in the one that was just for that one project. But right now, Kelly, right now I'm asking just about this project. So I'm
No,
only
so I don't have anything on this project. I just
Okay,
wanted to
thank you.
follow up on the other before we got too far into the meeting.
All right, thanks,
Sure.
Kelly. So, okay, so no one has an objection to us continuing this? Anyone from the board, or should we just vote on this part of the consent calendar? Oh, is there a motion to pass this part of the consent calendar where we just continue something? Igor?
I move to continue this matter.
You move to approve the consent,
Yeah, move to approve the consent with the purpose of continuing the matter to, what was the date again?
The next
February
meeting.
23rd.
Oh.
February 23rd. And then Kelly, the recommendations were part of my motion.
Yeah, for the first part. I think we didn't redo it for the second part, but it was in there. Okay, so we have a motion. I like to look Charlton. I'll second it. So let's vote.
Okay, so this is to continue 2439 Durant to a date certain on February 23rd, 2023. Board Member Trigu?
Aye.
Duffy?
Yes.
Gaffney?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Lunapara?
Yes.
Chair O'Keefe?
Yes.
And Sanderson?
Yes.
Okay, so that passes. It gets continued. That was the easiest chair gig ever. I'm gonna pass the reins back to Charles. Charles, come back. There he is.
I accept them. And just to be clear, Kelly, I didn't hear Samantha read those specifically when she restated the motion, but it was stated by Igor, it was seconded by me, and for the record is part of the motion. So that brings us to our public hearing items now, which will be in order: 469 Kentucky Avenue.
I think 1773 was first.
Oh, sure. Sorry, you are correct.
Just the voting was out of order.
Right. So, yes, the first item we'll be hearing is 1773 Oxford Street. So if you wish to be recused, yes, now is the time to ask or to do it yourself. Very good. So we're now opening the public hearing on 1773 Oxford Street, a 6-unit multifamily building. And who, Samantha, is the, Katrina. Is Katrina here tonight?
Yes. So there is a long delay when I promote people.
We will just try to be patient.
She should be, here she is.
There she is, great. Hey, Katrina, welcome.
Hi. Here, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Okay. Good evening, board members. As mentioned, my name is Katrina Lapira, and I'm the planner for the project before you, located at 1773 Oxford. This is a density bonus project. Before I begin, I just want to note that staff did receive one communication for this project yesterday on Wednesday, January 11th, after the publication of the ZAB packets and the subsequent supplementals. This communication was made available to ZAB and the applicant this afternoon. Back to the item before you, the project site is located close to UC Berkeley campus in downtown Berkeley, both located about half a block south of the project. The project site is located mid-block along Oxford Street, between Virginia Street to the north and Hearst to the south. The eastern portion of the block consists of multifamily residential buildings ranging in 3 to 4 stories in height. Across the street from the project, the western portion of the block, is the Oxford Tract, an educational farm managed by Cal students. The project site is near a mix of commercial and educational amenities and is well serviced by local transportation services. The lot is zoned as R4. The project site is rectangular, a 6,700 square foot interior lot with 44 feet of frontage along Oxford Street. Currently, the site is developed with a 4-story, 1,100 square foot multifamily building with 6 units and a 6-car parking garage. As noted in Table 2 of the staff report, the existing building has been unoccupied since June 2017 through the application of the Ellis Act, which removed all rental units from the market. Since 5 years have elapsed, the site is now eligible for demolition and development per the demolition ordinance as well as state law. Zoning allows for the demolition of the existing building and the construction of a 1,400 square foot building at a height of 65 feet, consisting of 16 units, 6 stories, and 4,800 square feet of open space. With the density bonus of 50%, by designating over 18% of the units at affordable at the very low income level, the project is entitled to a building of about 2,100 square feet at a height of 60 feet with 24 units, with the applicable waivers and concessions. The proposed project meets the objective standards set forth in the zoning ordinance and is consistent with the land use designation and policies set in the general plan. As such, staff recommends that the board holds a public hearing and upon conclusion, approve the zoning permit pursuant to the section before you and subject to the findings and conditions attached. This concludes staff's presentation. Let me know if you'd like me to stop sharing my screen. And thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. We would like the applicant, give the applicant an opportunity now, as is our custom, to present the project before hearing from the neighbors, any neighbors or community concerns. Do you know who will be speaking for the project, Katrina?
Yes, I believe it's Geneva Hessner and or Mark Rhodes.
Geneva, you are recognized. And I believe that the applicant has up to 5 minutes for the presentation. So if we can keep time on that. Geneva, is there anyone else that will be presenting with you on the applicant team, or are you doing a solo?
Mark is going to present, and I will share my screen if I have that capability.
Okay, I don't see Mark in the. I don't see Mark in the among the attendees.
He's a panelist now.
Good evening.
Oh, that would explain it. Okay, very good.
So I think I need screen sharing permission.
Can you manage that, Claudia? You may have to promote Geneva to a panelist for that screen sharing capability. I don't know.
Sure.
Wait,
I think,
sorry.
yeah, I think Samantha's going to promote Geneva.
Yeah, what applicants, just Karen's, applicants should come over as panelists.
Yeah, I'll remove her and then bring her back as a panelist.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Oh, there we go.
Here we go.
All right, very good.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year, Mr. Chair, members of the Zoning Adjustments Board. It's been a few months, I believe, since I've had the distinct pleasure of addressing this body. And we're looking forward to a very, very active year with your agendas. As staff indicated, we are here tonight to present this very nice infill development project, a project that actually represents what we might expect a little bit more broadly in some of these types of higher density neighborhoods in the city in the future. And I think that you'll see that based upon what envelope could be achieved in this zoning district with density bonus, we've approached this project with a very light hand for a couple of reasons. So let's go to the next slide, Geneva, please. And we'll go through these fairly quickly. This is the site, as staff indicated. It's right across the street from the agricultural fields, the Oxford tract, and is downslope from a lot of apartments. It's a lot of mixed uses up above from a density perspective, high density apartments, low density residential, et cetera. Next slide. This is an aerial view of the site. You can see at the back of the site, there's a garage that touches all three property lines. There's a lot of paving. There's no open space. And the box of the building sits forward on the lot, similar to the rest of the properties up and down this block. I'm sure we've all been walked or driven or biked this block many times over the years. A very interesting row of apartment buildings that present themselves across the street from the Oxford tract. Next slide. So as staff already indicated, we're looking at a total of 24 units. One of the reasons that this project has been kept at the size it has, instead of what could be an additional 4 stories at least added to it under the height limits, is because we want to keep the construction more affordable and in wood frame construction. As you know from reading the staff report, this project is located close enough to low headway transit that no parking can be required for the residential use. Is also consistent with the city's own zoning standards, which were changed 2 years ago to eliminate parking requirements for residential projects. The project will provide a number of bicycle parking spaces, but it's proximal enough to the downtown and other services in the campus that, you know, the transportation by foot is probably going to be the most used mode. Next slide, please. This is some renderings you'll see as we go through these slides of what the building, how the building will present itself to the street. But at the same time, that this is a 21 units that will be market rate, but we're including 3 units of below market rate in this project in order to achieve the 50% density bonus. And then you can see the breakdown of the units down below. So this isn't necessarily just a student-oriented housing project. It may become one just because of the incredible need that we have for single occupant households in our city, and many of whom are students. Next slide, please. This is the context of the neighborhood. You know, as we discussed, this very interesting row of 3-4 story apartment buildings that march up Oxford from Hearst to Virginia. Next slide. And this is a comparison of the existing building footprints on the property and then the proposed building footprint. There's not that much difference. In fact, I think there's only less than 5% difference in the amount of lock.
Did Mark just freeze, or is it just me?
I think he's frozen.
I think he's frozen. I can jump in while he reconnects.
Okay, very good, Geneva. Thank you.
So as he was saying, the building footprint is pretty similar when you include the existing parking garage at the rear of the lot. And we're actually only going up 10 feet in height and only 1 story, even though the zoning code does allow 6 stories and 65 feet. Again, we're just under that. So we're trying to maximize our density on this site while also being able to stay compatible with the neighborhood context. And then here you can see what you'll be looking at walking up Oxford Street once this is hopefully built, and it fits in pretty well. It's kind of keeps the residential wall. It's fits in nicely with the existing apartments around it.
5 minutes are up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, just quickly, this is the front elevation, the materials, the rear side elevations, a ground floor plan, a typical floor plan of floors 2 through 5, a landscape plan with this nice side yard, ADA access there as well. Here are the sections, and then we are preserving these really nice street yards that exist. And then here are a few renderings very quickly. And then we're hoping that it's designed to be modular. And so if it's feasible, it will be constructed that way. So it could be stacked in less than a week. And then lastly, this slide was to address some neighbor concerns that were communicated today. So we can revisit that if we'd like.
I thank you for the presentation. We will now open the ask if there are any questions for the applicant, or I should have asked for the
Mr. Chair, just if I may, just one quick point, and thank you, Geneva, for picking that up. I don't know what happened. There's one little error in the staff report that I'd like to correct. The project did present a historic resource analysis prepared by Mark Colbert. That historic resource analysis was forwarded to the Landmarks Commission. It's been writing their agendas for the last several months. They've taken no action to initiate or designate. Just wanted to make sure that that was clear in the record. And the historic resource report is in the packet.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Rhodes. I have a question actually for you or Geneva, which is if you do have, I know that the concerns were sort of late arriving. I think they came today to us, but if you have materials to address, I do want to know if you have the capacity or interest in addressing any of the neighbor concerns, since we're about to hear from them.
Yes, absolutely. And I appreciate it. The project, as is indicated in the staff report, is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act because it's recognized as an infill development project. And none of the criterion that would pull it out of that designation exist, and that's also examined in the staff report. It's important to know that projects like this are generally protected by the state laws now because of the state's housing crisis, and with state legislation and the city's legislation, we don't provide automobile parking for residential uses since about at least a year and a half now. But having said that, these residents that will reside in this building will not be entitled to receive permit parking, residential permit parking, like existing residents have. I have a little bit of an issue with that from a policy perspective, but nonetheless, it is the rule. But the primary issue that I think is being expressed is one of the views. And as Geneva was getting to at the end of the presentation, this very simple diagram shows in red where the folks who are here to speak tonight reside. It shows the quite tall 4-story apartment building right across the street from them in yellow on the overhead. And then our project site is at 1773 in the green. So behind us, the building roof height is 50 feet on the back side of that building, not on this side. And our project height, our roof height is 60 feet, but it's further down slope. I believe that right now, these neighbors look right over the top of that yellow apartment building. As beautiful as it is, and we'll also continue to look right over that yellow apartment building. They may see a little bit of the top of the building, but I do also want to remind the Zoning Adjustments Board that views are not a reason to deny or modify a project that's subject to the Housing Accountability Act. But we did take it into consideration by keeping the height at 60 feet instead of going taller. The base height in this zoning district is 65 feet. That means if you do some sort of simple, straightforward math, that a building 90 feet tall could probably be built on this project site. But that would involve type 5 over type 1 construction, very expensive for this small of a project. So we endeavored to keep it in wood frame construction. So we've kept it at the size that's shown here. And in fact, we're going to be modular. So most likely. So that's.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to close this part of the hearing and open it up now to attendees. We had several people who earlier expressed concerns about the project. I only see one hand. I would like to get a full count of everyone who wishes to speak on this topic, as I need to manage our timetable and our agenda. I saw 6 hands. I see 5 now. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on 1773 Oxford Street? Please raise your hands now. I'm only going to recognize people who are raising their hands now. This is consistent with how we conducted this in person, where you were required to file a request to speak. And I'm requesting you to lodge your interest. Okay, we have 5 people. That's sufficient that we can give each of you 3 minutes up to, is it up to 2 minutes? 2 minutes to speak.
2 minutes.
Yes. So we'll just take you in turn. Carol, you are recognized.
Okay, I think I can be very brief. One is a general thing that I would hope you would do. It has been answered with the diagrams here, but when you say 5 stories, I think the stories can vary in height. So you should always, on every project, say the number of stories, but also the number of feet. I hope you will do that in the future. But that was
I think
answered.
they did say it was 60 feet tall.
Yeah,
so,
they did in this, but I'm saying in general with all of the projects that you consider, it's just a suggestion. And specifically, when I look at the one of the pictures, it looks like it's consistent in the front with the other buildings, but in one of the diagrams, or 2 of them, it looked like the front of it, in other words, the west side, extended further out to the west. Is that correct?
We can ask the applicant to address concerns after everyone has spoken. So,
okay, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Carol. I appreciate your brevity. Kelly?
Yes, first off, thank you for choosing native plants. I appreciate that. What is a concern is you have really corner windows, and those are where you're looking at this from the front and the side. And a window, when you have a corner window like that, it's particularly dangerous, even more dangerous for birds than just the reflection of glass, because oftentimes the bird will believe that they can fly through it. So I would ask that you consider bird safe glass on those corner windows to eliminate that hazard, and of course use outside screening wherever you can, and discourage occupants from putting plants inside in those windows. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. LB.
Thank you so much. So I was going to request for a sort of environmental impact study, if that's the right phrasing, for this. I live right next door. I'm concerned about health and safety to the immediate neighbors with the demolition in terms of hazardous materials. I don't know, lead, dust, asbestos, taking the building down. We're just a few feet away across a narrow alley. And so a hazardous material study perhaps, because we'll be living in those conditions, and that the demolition and there's for as long as this project is going on, and we're a little concerned about potential damage to our property just across the alley in the process. And if what the plans are for noise mitigation, at least during the demolition and construction, many of us are just working people who have to work from home in this era, the way things are these days, and we just have no choice. So we're here. I heard what was said about the parking, and I'm still concerned. I still have concerns about that parking issue. I understand, so they won't be given permits. The folks, I don't know where some people are going to have cars. I don't know where they're going to park. So I just want to, I understand that was noted, but I'm still concerned about that, and about the relative density of this number of units on a lot that size. I understand the legal aspect. I'm still concerned for the well-being of the folks who live here and have lived here a real long time. So I think that sums it up pretty well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight and speaking your concerns, LB.
Thank
you. Ingrid, you are recognized. Ingrid.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
What did you do?
I hit the button right.
Uh,
Can you hear us?
Yes, we sure can.
No.
And are there two of you speaking?
Not sure you hear us?
Yes, we can. But yes, we can hear you. Don't push any buttons. We hear you loud and clear. You just pushed a button. You have to unmute now. You need to unmute. You just muted yourself. You were doing just fine.
Unmute.
Okay. Can you hear us okay now?
Don't push any buttons. Stop. We can hear you.
Well, I can't hear you, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, your sound on your computer, your sound may be off.
Send us another unmute symbol.
Here.
You need to turn your volume up on your computer.
Can you hear us okay now?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
What the heck?
This is very funny. It's the first time it's happened. I think their sound is
audio
off.
Options.
Okay. Can you hear us okay now?
Yes, but can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all good now.
Great. Fantastic.
Sorry about that.
And Ingrid, are there two of you who are speaking tonight?
Yeah, there's myself and my husband, Bob.
Okay, you'll each get 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Up to 2 minutes. If you can do it quicker, we love it.
Okay, great. So we are right next door, 1765 Oxford. And so that would be north from the building that is being built, or the project. And my concern is the same concern that the neighbor behind, I guess that would be the neighbor on Spruce Street, about the demolition and keeping the dust and the whatever other material that will be taken down, preventing the dust from coming to our building. We just recently completely renovated the exterior of our building and painted it. So it would be really difficult for us to have to clean it again from all the dust. I'm also concerned about the height of the building because, because at some point I was thinking of installing the solar system on our roof. And I don't know how that will impact my building because it's currently, the existing building is only, I believe is it 40 feet tall? And it's going up to 60 feet. I'm also concerned about the parking situation because there's really not a lot of parking on the street. And I know that some people will probably have a car, or some of the tenants who live in the building or the residents will own a car, and so I don't know how that's going to impact the street. So, and I'm also interested in maybe having a barrier put in place between the neighbor's building and our building, just so to avoid, you know, things flying over when the construction is going on.
Your time is up.
Okay. I'm Bob Wander, owner next door, right across the driveway. And I'm concerned about the change in the general configuration of the lot, where if you're starting at the rear of the lot, there's a one-story parking structure spanning the lot left to right. Then there's a blacktop area, and then the building begins and it has its present height to the street. So the new structure will be built up the entire length of that area, and there won't be light or ventilation coming from that large area, which is blacktop and the single story floor structure. It could shadow the building because that's the south side of, you know, they're to the south of me. And I think it could be having a big influence on the general temperature and humidity of our building by shading it so terrifically. And then I have a concern about the tear down and the dust, so that people will know that there's you know, things like asbestos that are so common in these buildings that are 100 years old or so. And also, when you tear out a lot of concrete, that dust is toxic. So someone would have to put in a big effort when they're doing this excavation to control that dust and put up barriers around the property, hopefully. And one small item is, I know the owner, one of the owners of the building adjacent to that beautiful Oxford property that was just built. And his property, when the construction was initiated at Oxford, was infested by rats, which left the other lot area and came into his property. And I'm concerned that whoever owned this building over 5 years, that there may be vermin there, which will leave if there's tear down going on and infest our property. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for coming tonight. We have one more individual, Jeannie Marichak. Jeannie, you're recognized if you can unmute.
Thank you, but my next door neighbor, John Penberthy, also asked to speak, and he's just come over here to talk about.
You'll each get 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Then I'll be very quick because I've already spoken. I want to thank Mark. It was nice to see it, you know, some what this actually looks like and so on. And there's a lot of nice things about this, but I just want to underscore the concern about the parking, because people do have cars. You can tell them they can't get a residential permit and there's no place to park on the ground. Where are they going to put their cars? And I also wondered, if you think they're all going to be on bicycles, why have you only allocated 18 spaces for those bicycles? So the issue of these people transporting themselves seems like one that maybe requires more explanation or more thought. And now I'm going to turn it over to my neighbor. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, this is John Penberthy. And I mentioned about the height, concerned about the height. I've looked on Google Earth, looking at our location, looking at how it fits in with your new building. And I was told by Yes Duffy that only about your new building would be about behind 1780 Spruce. I looked on Google Earth and it looks like there's only 1/2 of the building is going to be behind it. Also, when you talk about 10 foot taller, I'm a little confused what that means, because I'd like to see, as I mentioned it in my write-up, in my email, I'd like to see the proposed new one, and I would like to see the old existing building. And there is a roof line above the, say, the building itself. There's a roof line above it. I'm not sure how this all fits in. So I'd like some more information on how the height is going to look. And if they can do that, I'm sure they could do that. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and speaking tonight. That closes the public comment portion of our hearing tonight. Everyone has had an opportunity to speak. I think I actually had more people speak than the 5 who originally raised their hands. But yes, you do, the applicant has an opportunity to now, having heard the concerns firsthand, address any of those concerns to try to satisfy the concerns of these neighbors. And if it's your option to take a couple of minutes for that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, Zoning Adjustments Board staff and the neighbors, thank you for coming out this evening, participating and expressing your concerns. Some of these responses are going to be really frustrating, I suspect, and I'm going to maybe leave it to staff on one of them in particular. First, on the sort of toxics issues of lead paint, asbestos, etc. Like all of the buildings on this block, this building does have lead paint, most likely, and probably also, like the rest of the buildings on this block, contains some asbestos in one way, shape, or form. Berkeley has, in conjunction with state requirements, very significant and stringent standards. You see those expressed in the conditions of approval for how those things are abated and eliminated, including dust, during the demolition process. Essentially, a building like this isn't going to get knocked over by a wrecking ball. It's going to sort of be dismantled, and it will be screened while that's happening and things of that nature. Staff can probably provide you more technical detail on all of those pieces. And because it's a very highly regulated set of circumstances, any further discussion on that might come from them. But there are significant conditions of approval for those items already listed in the staff report. On the parking issue, again, it has been the policy of the city for almost 2 years now that no parking is required for residential uses. Instead, there are some bike parking spaces. We have transit proximity, and transit passes will also be provided to folks in the new units. So there's a real combination of things that can help people avoid having cars. And yes, some people will probably have cars. But because they can't get residential permit parking, it would be very difficult for those folks to park on long-term bases in this neighborhood, except perhaps on the weekends. And what we have found, 4 years ago, staff could probably correct me on this. The city did a citywide parking survey for higher density buildings, both old buildings and newer buildings. And they found that in general, the already reduced amount of parking in those buildings, many of them didn't have anywhere near the number of spaces that they had units in the building, were on average 1/2 to 3/4 used from a parking perspective. So a lot of people do, when presented with the option, choose to live in a building that doesn't have parking because they're actually paying less to live there. It makes these units a little bit more affordable. Then I will do one other clarification. Somebody asked, does this building, does it stick forward relevant to the rest of the buildings on the road there on Oxford Street? This building it noses out or is proud of its existing condition by about 1.5 feet. So yes, it extends forward, but only about 1.5 feet in the front setback from where it is right now. And on the views and the sunlight and the air, this is, one of those frustrating responses for some, I think, but with respect to providing the kind of housing that the city needs, has been an important change both in state policy and then as a requirement in city policy as well. Sunlight, air, and views are no longer a basis for denying residential projects that are consistent with state density bonus law and the city's objective standards. This project, because it's both, is also subject to the protections of the Housing Accountability Act. Having said that, yes, it will cast more shadow than it does right now. And like I said before, we've tried to keep the building height down just over 60 feet in inches. From where it is right now, it's only about a 10-foot difference. So I think, we've worked really hard, given the fact that, as I said also before, that a building here could achieve almost 80 or 90 feet in height if somebody really wanted to push that envelope and pay those exorbitant construction prices for a project like that.
If you could wrap up, Mark.
Yeah, I think I've hit everything. If anybody else has any questions about anything, please let me know. We're here to answer any questions you might have, and we look forward to being able to move on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Igor, you have your hand up. Sorry, I just muted you by accident. You have to unmute. Yeah.
I would say, is it something I said, but I haven't said anything yet.
Something you were about to say.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Mark, and thank you to the members of the public. I just have two questions responsive to what we heard tonight. First, would you be amenable to a condition? We have sometimes done this on other projects, to provide to neighbors within a certain radius the contact info for a project liaison, prior to commencement of construction.
Absolutely. I mean, I also believe that it's a condition of approval nowadays, but certainly the neighbors will receive notification in advance of the construction actually starting. There will be a posting on the site that identifies a contact that would actually pick up a phone if somebody called and had any issue or question with what was happening. So I don't recall, Mr. Traeger, which condition of approval that is, but
37 and 39.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, okay. So this is right. 49 provides a construction website, but I think, and it sounds like you would be amenable to this, is just go a bit further and actually provide a phone number, like the hotline that someone.
It is actually specifically referenced as a hotline. If you read further down in 39, Igor, I think this is something that the planning department now requires, because it's something that you and others on this commission have requested.
You're right.
Other projects, yeah.
Yeah, this is a condition that's evolved significantly over the years.
Yep,
Yeah,
sure is.
yeah. I'm glad to hear that it has been expanded. That's great. And then my second question was just based on Kelly's remarks, particularly about the side windows, if bird safe glass or outside screenings are something that you would consider. I know this is modular construction and you're trying to keep costs down, so I do understand. And we can't make this a condition, but is it something that you would consider?
Thank you for that. And that is one of the at least one item that maybe I forgot to cover. First, let me say that I think all of our projects in this point in time are incorporating native landscaping. And when we are introduced to a new project, one of the first statements out of my mouth is, this is going to be 100% native landscaping, because I hear in the back of my mind, Kelly Hammergren is going to press us on this, and she's right to do it, and we're glad to be doing it. On the bird safe glass, you're correct. This is a modular design, and it becomes even more expensive, especially for a project of this scale. What we can do, and I think what we can agree to, is to look at screening options that could be potentially applied on the exterior somehow to break down the glare. I appreciate Kelly's comment and her work on this. And we would look at that at final design review, I think.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any other, well, I would like to, are there any other questions for the applicant, Michael?
I just wanted to address the comment about the vermin and rodents doing construction, and if that happens, how would that be addressed?
Thank you. I think that a lot of people do trapping now before they start a demolition process. It's happened to me. I have had a house remodeled next to us here, next to San Pablo Avenue, and oh my gosh, the folks living there had been hoarders, and it was horrifying. Our cat was busy for a month. I think that we can also accept a condition, and I hate to say it, but maybe think about this for other projects as well, that when a demolition is going to occur, that perhaps at least a short program of trapping occur just prior to the demolition.
That, Mark. Thank you, Michael. Any other questions for the applicant? In that case, I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it back to this commission and hear any comments that my fellow commissioners may have on the project and or concerns of the community. Igor.
Thank you so much. This is always, I definitely hear the concerns of the neighbors and this zoning adjustments board. In many respects, its hands are tied due to state law and several, the Housing Accountability Act and other state laws have been mentioned. I do want to mention that I believe the increase in height is that the existing building, based on what has been provided to us, is 40 feet tall. This would be
it's 50 and this is 60.
The comment was 40, it's actually 50, and this would be 60.9. I would like staff to explore, I do hear Carol's comment about, while we have in the development standards in the staff report, which is for those following along, table 4, there are existing heights there, as well as the proposed height. Maybe this is something staff can actually take a look at in the summary up top in bold, use permit, empty squat to demolish a 6-unit multifamily building, maybe adding the maximum height next to where it says 5 stories and 21,048 square feet. So that it would be, I know we have this and we are, supposed to have this information so we can do our jobs. But for members of the public, this might make it a little bit easier for them to find, because then can just be on top of the report itself and also in the agenda. With that, and the concerns about construction, I just want to relay that conditions 37 through 56, those are the construction conditions of approval. They are stringent, and as I just learned, they have become more robust over time as well. So for members of the public, that's where you can go to take a look at things like noise and dust mitigation and others. With that, I would like to make a motion to approve this project with the inclusion of Commissioner Thompson's condition. And I apologize, Commissioner, you may have to read it again. And then with a strong recommendation to include outside screening where feasible in the windows for bird safety purposes.
I second.
Thank you, Debbie. So we have a motion, we have a second. Before we vote, I have some comments, just to add, 1 or 2 to add to Igor's thoughtful comments. I want to say that everyone's concerns voiced tonight are legitimate concerns, very understandable when a significant project is being built next to your property or in your neighborhood. These concerns will arise. I want to assure you it's not the first time we've heard these concerns. This is Berkeley, where we live, where neighbors' concerns are taken very seriously. And for that reason, we do have requirements such as the one that Igor helped forge, where there is a hotline that you can call during construction if you have concerns about things not being done per the instructions that are here, that are public record, that you can review. I did want to speak in particular, though, to one concern voiced by several immediate neighbors, the neighbor to the south and the neighbor to the north. And this referred to the toxics, the potential toxicity, which Mark acknowledges very likely there is some asbestos or lead in the paint in an old building like this. And believe me, the city wants to be sure that the citizens are protected. So the request that there is an environmental study is already in the document. And it's under item number 21, toxics. The applicant shall contact the Toxics Management Division of the city to determine which of the following documents are required. It includes an environmental site assessment, phase 1 and phase 2 site assessments. The environmental conditions that have to be addressed. So we do have a toxic condition in the documents, in addition to all of the multiple dust control and other construction management and construction outreach, which I think personally is the particularly important. A meeting, you'll be invited to a meeting before construction begins. You'll get to meet the people who are doing the construction, who are responsible for it, and there will be numbers to reach. We, can't guarantee how that's going to be handled. We hope that given the quality of people who are involved with this project, it will be at the highest level. And that's really the only assurances we can provide at our level, I believe. So with that, I'd like to ask for a vote, unless we have another commissioner who wishes to speak before we vote. Okay, in that case, Samantha, if you could take the vote.
Okay, so this is to approve 1773 Oxford with the added condition that rodents are trapped prior to demolition and beginning construction, and a recommendation for outdoor screening, outdoor screens and windows where feasible for bird safety. Okay.
Sounds right to me.
Commissioner or Board Member Trigu?
Aye.
Gaffney?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Luna Para?
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Yes.
Chair Khan?
Yes.
And Sanderson?
Yes.
So it passes unanimously, and the project will proceed pending appeal to council, subject to appeal by council. This brings us to our next item, number 7, 469 Kentucky Avenue. And yes, you should rejoin us, please. There he is. Welcome back. Handsome design.
Thank you.
So we will now be conducting the public hearing for 469 Kentucky Avenue, our penultimate item on the agenda tonight. And Samantha, I believe Russell is the staff planner. Is Russell here?
Russell is here and should be coming over.
Okay, I am here. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, it was acting a little funny and there was a delay. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, is my presentation on screen now? Okay, I'm not
Yes.
here. Okay, now I'm
Yes.
hearing you. Okay. All right, so the project before us is at 469 Kentucky Avenue. It is to demolish a single-family dwelling and its existing one-car garage and construct a 3,310 square foot, 3-story residence and 2-car garage. It is in the R1H zoning district. This is single family residential in the hillside overlay zone. This is a site plan. You can see the outline of the proposed house here, the garage out at the street, which is typical of the neighborhood because of the steep terrain, and an accessory building at the back of the lot. And this is just another image so you can get another idea of what the proposed project would look like. I do want to say a little bit about the project chronology. The applicant notified neighbors and collected signatures back in January and February of 2022. In May 2022, a home behind the project site at 480 Vassar was purchased by new owners who apparently were not notified of this project when they bought the house. When story poles were erected in November, the new owners of 480 Vassar were taken a little bit by surprise, and they expressed concerns about the effect on their view. And they expressed those concerns directly to the applicant. The applicant took their concerns seriously and met with them, and then revised their plans in December, right before our deadline, and revised the plans so that the roof was basically changed 45 degrees, which allowed less obstruction of the existing view. And so those drawings are what are submitted to you in your packets. And this is a view from 480 Vassar that was taken, I think, from the second floor, showing the story poles. I don't know how well you can all see it. It's not a great picture, but this is what I could come up with. So this just gives you an idea of what the view will look like when the new house is built. Of course, there are various findings that have to be met in order to approve the project. Staff feels that the demolition phase of the project would not be material detrimentally to the housing needs and public interests of the affected neighborhood and Berkeley, because it does not eliminate any units, and it has not resulted in any evictions or removing anybody from the rental market. There is also a general non-detriment finding, and staff believes that the proposed use would not be detrimental or injurious to property and improvements of the adjacent properties and surrounding neighborhood. And finally, there are some required hillside overlay zone findings. And we believe that the project would be consistent with the hillside overlay zone. As I noted earlier, the 2-car garage is up front necessarily due to the steep terrain, and that is in keeping with other properties in the neighborhood. And also the additional height responds to the topography of the site while giving reasonable protection to views. So staff recommends that you approve the project. And then finally, I have one last sort of addendum before we move on. At last minute, we realized that our standard solar condition of approval was inadvertently left off the findings and conditions document. So we recommend adding this particular condition, and if it's appropriate, I'd like to just maybe read it into the record now.
I think it's sufficient since we have a visual of it. Well, go ahead and read it, just to get double.
Okay, solar voltaic and battery energy storage systems. A solar PV system shall be installed subject to the specified limited exceptions as specified by the Berkeley Energy Code, BMC Chapter 19.36. Energy storage system readiness or ESS installation shall be completed as specified by BMC Chapter 19.36. Location of the solar PV system and the ESS, if applicable, shall be noted on the construction plans.
Good. Thank you. Any questions for Russell from this commission? Seeing none, I'd like to invite thank you, Russell. I'd like to invite the applicant to join us and make their presentation to the commission. And Russell, do you know who that would be?
I believe that would be Maurice Levitch and maybe Aidan Keefe.
Yes, this is Maurice. Let's see.
Hey, Maurice, you and Aidan have 5 minutes between you, so you should judge accordingly.
I'll get started. Am I joining as a panelist? Is that
I think you may have to be demoted and pulled back in as a panelist by Karen if you need to share, because you will need to share your.
I moved him over as a panelist.
Oh, good.
Let me see
Very good.
Here. Yeah. So they should both be panelists.
Okay, very good. So yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, great.
I'd like to, Maurice.
All right. Good evening, Chairman Khan, zoning commissioners. What we have here is a replacement of the 1925 childhood home of our client, Aidan Keefe. Aidan went to Berkeley High School. He was here in Berkeley. He's moved down to Santa Clara for work, but now with the working remotely, he's able to come back home. And he had intended to come back home and live in this home with his father in the new ADU that was planned, but unfortunately his father passed away just this late December. However, we're very committed to continuing with the ADU, and it's going to turn out to be a place for his nanny. He has 2 kids, wife, and they both work at home. So we started this design with an open mind about whether or not to demolish or retrofit this home. And as specialists in remodeling, I took it as a personal challenge to see what we could save of this home. And as we learned more about it, crawling underneath it, it really needed, full foundation replacement, full excavation, and there was a very odd addition built in '86 that really didn't add anything to the home. When we did our historical analysis, Mark Hurlbert, pardon me, states the subject property and building have no identifiable association in the events or persons important to history, and additionally, the existing house is a basic and undistinguished design without construction characteristics of interest, without an identifiable original architect, and its original developer is of no identifiable historical importance. I hope they don't say that about all of us in 40 or 50 years, but poor guy. Anyway, it really made more sense to demolish this building. It's safer. It's more cost effective. It'll be a better built and energy efficient home for this family who will continue to live here. We're very happy to have made the story pole adjustments in time, and that the new owner up above was comfortable with the change. We've learned of some additional concerns of our neighbor to the north down below, of some privacy that we love to respond to. I think that's it for me. Aiden, would you like to share anything?
No, just thank you everyone for the time this evening. Really appreciate it. Alta Bates 1972, Berkeley High class of 90. The opportunity to move back to Berkeley has been a huge thing. I've probably spent a little bit more of my life working outside of Berkeley. But with the horrible pandemic, the one upside is an opportunity to go back home. And the places I've worked have never felt like home. Berkeley's always felt like home. So we've really wanted to move back. We now have the opportunity to do it. I was hoping to live together with 3 generations with my father. Fortunately, he passed away a couple weeks ago. We're really looking forward to coming back. It's just the house is, as Maurice mentioned, it's old, it's beat up, it's not safe, it's not stable. And so we think building something new there that can support all of us to work from home, I think will be a huge value add. And I'll be mindful of time. I think there's a value add for everybody involved besides just our family. I think neighbors will benefit because an old decrepit house, which is dragging down home values, is going to be replaced with something which will be a lot nicer. Moving from something which is really a fire hazard, given that we're in the WUI overlay and embers from Tilden could make it an accelerant, putting in Class A fire materials and having it more as a buffer with sprinklers would be a huge value add for the neighborhood, as well as, of course, earthquake safety. If it falls down to the street, people can't flee. These are huge factors. I think probably the most important one for me, though, and maybe this is me dealing with my midlife crisis, going from a house which is burning up natural gas and allowing that energy to just drift out through uninsulated walls is something which makes me, upsets me, to be honest. And so building a green, efficient home, and I love that there are photovoltaic requirements and battery requirements, is really a chance to do something to address what feels like the biggest, not to be melodramatic, but the biggest problem facing humanity, that I can finally do some little step that's positive towards, addressing that is something which is important to me. So I'll be mindful of time. Again, I appreciate all the time that you've given us, and thanks.
Thank you, Maurice and Aiden. Any questions for the applicant from the commission before we go to the public? Shoshana.
I just want to say I'm so sorry to hear about your father.
Thank you.
Thanks. With that, we will open it to attendees. I see 2 hands. Kelly, Cynthia, and Anonymous. 5 hands. Kelly, Cynthia, someone identified as Anonymous, Ren Ing, and Catherine Seligman. You are the 5 people who will speak on this topic tonight. We have another item still to go. I'm going to close it out, and if there's anyone else that wishes to speak, raise your hand now. Okay, then we'll start and take it in order, starting with Kelly and finishing with Catherine. Kelly, you are up.
Thank you, and Aiden and Maurice, I'm sure you've been here all night and you've heard me make my plea for bird safe glass, and I would ask that you please use bird safe glass on this house, and you can make your windows bird safe just by putting screens, having windows that open and putting screens on the outside would make them bird safe, and that would be a great benefit. I appreciate that you're concerned about natural gas. This is going to be all electric, so that's wonderful. I was looking at the landscape plans, and I was wondering if, because you have probably about 50% non-native, if those are plantings that already exist, that you're not putting in new plants, that what's named on this site is what already exists on the property. If not, I would ask that you use CalScape, and you can pick out native plants, and that would really add a lot of value to biodiversity. So those are my requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Cynthia Foster.
Hi, Cynthia Foster. I live at 479 Kentucky, so 2 doors down from the project. My concerns have to do with how the project is going to affect traffic on the street, both demolition and construction. Kentucky Avenue is 2 blocks long, and the block that the project is taking place on actually consists of 2 one-lane roads with a median in the middle. And the median is probably about a 5-foot slope. So it's not a median that can be used if one side of the street is blocked. So my concerns have to do with how traffic's going to be managed, and if we're going to get advance notice when the street has to be closed. And I do appreciate on the last project, if we could also have a hotline so we have access not only with construction questions, but with parking and street access. And if we get notification maybe 48 hours in advance that there's going to be trucks going to be blocking the street, it's just very narrow and I have concerns. It's very difficult to turn around in our street and go the wrong direction to get out. We've all done it during an emergency. I wouldn't want to do it on an ongoing basis. So that's my concern, is how we have access to the street. We have delivery trucks and recycling trucks who really are pretty cautious about getting down the street because it's narrow. And I also have concerns about parking in the sense that parking is very limited in our neighborhood, and neighbors are very cognizant of not blocking stairs and driveways and entries to houses. And I want to make sure that anyone who's working on the project is also cognizant of not blocking entrances.
Thank you, Cynthia. The next person is identified as anonymous. If you can, there you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. This is more just a question. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask a question in this forum, but I was just curious in regards to the demolition, what protections are going to be in place just to ensure that the dust and debris, because this is going to go on for a long time, doesn't kind of disrupt the neighbors in the community. And then the second question, like I said, not necessarily a concern or objection, just a question, is more about if you can provide more color into what is being done just to address the fact that this is a big project going on a steep hill. And so in terms of the grading in the back of the house, what if just giving some more color to ensure that like houses on the neighboring street behind don't have any negative repercussions from like slippage or anything like that. So just to provide more color, just to understand.
Thank you. It is appropriate to ask questions. They will be answered hopefully by the applicant when they have a chance to answer all the questions that you or others may raise. Thank you for coming tonight. Ren Ing.
Good evening. My family lives at 467 Kentucky, right next to the project. We wrote a letter asking the board to postpone approval of the use permit. And I want to highlight the four reasons from our letter. The first is problems with information flow. The final versions of the documents have only been available on the city website since January 3rd. Compared to the previous version we were emailed, the latest includes design additions and revisions, soil and shadow studies, etc. We need more time to study it, and all neighbors should have that opportunity. The second is our objections to aspects of the design. The design has a balcony that would provide close, direct views onto our secluded deck and into our master bedroom for the first time. This would intrude on two of our most private spaces. We asked for more time to work with the architect through this and other design problems. The third are concerns with demolition. We have 2 children, 7 and 9, and we're worried about hazardous materials like asbestos and lead dust. We live so close. Our houses are separated by just 8 feet for the full depth and height, and 3 stories will be demolished here. This is also on a steep hill, as you heard, so we're worried about damage to our home during demolition or foundation damage from excavation and leveling of the hill that's just 8 feet away. We even have a shared 10-foot pergola that spans the gap between our homes. The documents don't mention yet how this structure will be preserved. We ask that a demolition plan be added for all these things. The fourth concern is about street safety. Our street is unusual, as you heard, 2 narrow one-way roads on a steep hill. In the last 2 years, several construction accidents happened. A truck couldn't stop and destroyed the railing and steps on a house at the end of the street. A moving backhoe threatened the safety of 2 children, including one of our own, and was referred to Council Member Sophie Hahn for follow-up. This project is by far the most complex on our street in years, maybe decades, and we request the addition of a traffic safety plan. So to recap, we ask you to postpone approval until the issues in our letter are addressed. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And we have one more individual to speak on the item. Catherine Seligman, you are recognized. Catherine, for some reason we can't hear you. I don't know if you're trying to speak or not. You are unmuted. I don't know if there's a volume control on your microphone, but we're not getting any audio. Well, if Catherine is able to come back, I certainly want to give her a chance to speak. So if you can manage that, Catherine, you're welcome to rejoin us.
Charles, it is 9.
Yes, time for a captioner's break. Before we, so let's take a captioner's break now. It'll be a 10-minute break, health break. So is it precisely 9? Yes, it is. Let's all be back at 9:10. We still have another item to go, and I do want to get this done before we all turn into whatever you turn into at midnight. So see you in 10 minutes. Thanks.
Call Aiden Keith. Oh, I didn't see anybody there. Oh, I see that. Oh, yeah, I see that. Did I? All right, thanks, guys. See you, contact. Thank you.
Looks like we just need a few more people and we can get back in the saddle. There we are. Okay, so I would like to continue the public hearing by giving Maurice and Aiden an opportunity to address the concerns brought to our attention by the community. And I believe you have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Okay, am I on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the questions, neighbors and other interested parties. Kelly, really appreciate, and I've learned a lot tonight from the birds and landscape comments. Definitely we're interested in the bird safe windows screens, as well as the landscape. We've engaged Bernardo Lopez from Latitude 37. He's a sustainable garden specialist. So we're all over that. The 50% non-native. We will make sure not to put native plants in the windows though. So we'll keep them outside. Then Cynthia, yeah, it's a tight street. And as a builder, and we hope to build this for Aiden as well, I can give you some direct answers to that. We've prepared traffic control plans for many projects. And we're always going to do what we can to not have a street closure. We're going to put signs. I mean, this is what we're going to propose. We do have a plan, a preliminary plan we could share if it comes to that. Russell has that, could share it on a screen if he wanted to. But we do plan on putting signs up to the sidewalk as it is now is not passable even by pedestrians without construction, since cars park on the sidewalk. We have some images of that. I'm not sure how you guys get around. You must be walking in the street to get past the parked cars. But there definitely need to be some street closures for certain activities, large deliveries, concrete pours, and we would definitely sign those. We'd be working with Vincent Chen. I actually have a call in to him to be talking to him about this specifics of the project. It's fortunate that we have pretty good, easy detours around these areas. The roads would be closed to, through traffic, but local traffic could get through, so everyone could still get to their house. And certainly we will give you notice. Since we are the contractor, or whoever the contractor is, this will be a condition of approval. So I'm all for that, and for safety of everybody around, including our crews. I definitely am aware of the recycle. We would not want to be we would not schedule concrete pours or road closures on the days or the times when the recycle and trash guys are coming. So that's a for sure thing. Stairs, driveways, entrances. There will be contact information. We, and I think most contractors, who do this kind of work, are good at communicating with neighbors, and so we're all over that. So let's see. Then we had another question about demolition and debris. This has been covered, I think, in some of the other hearings where the city does have strict regulations, and we definitely plan on following those to reduce any kind of airborne or any other kind of toxic that spreading from our job site. The demolition is a fairly contained process. I've had my demolition contractor up there today. We talked through how it would be done safely. We do plan on taking the roof off the garage so we can use that as a truck loading area early on. Let's see, and so we're happy to. There's best management practices also for that are required to be followed, which handle erosion during construction. Uncovered piles of material, dirt are not allowed. So that will be handled. It already is in our conditions. Ren, unfortunately, we didn't get to meet each other, but we've communicated about the information. The concern about information, you had the information very early on. The only change, the information flow changed because we made a quick change in response to one of your other neighbors' uphill view concern, and that change actually improved, reduced some of the shadow on your place. Didn't change anything about privacy. So all of the information has been there. Anything that changed recently was just as a minor change to the roof. And as far as the shared pergola, we'd love to hear what your plans are for the pergola. We could brace it. It can stay just like it is. We can take it down, reinstall it, whatever you want. And Aiden would have to agree on that too. It's interesting. There's no fence in between the homes, and we would want to put up a temporary construction fence between the homes on either side, which probably could go under the pergola, but I think it might be up to the two of you to decide if you want to put a fence there in this portion of the lot that is not fenced. And you also had concerns about the traffic control plan, which we will definitely be having to run by the city. Okay, let's see. There was a Catherine who I don't think was able to speak, but I think I caught everything. But if not, we'll catch it on the next round here.
Okay, well, I really want to thank you, Maurice, for specifically addressing concerns of neighbors. That's something we don't hear a lot, and I think it's the courteous and appropriate thing to do. Igor, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to, I also saw that there was a concern around privacy by Professor Ng, and wanted to see how you might address that as well.
Thank you, and I'm sorry for not catching that one. That's the big one right now. And we have proposed a few different options. I'm not sure if that's something that Russell or any of you guys have in your packet. I think you do have it in your packet. There is, this is a very common, we're on the west facing, we have a significant view in front of us. And I think there are a lot of homes on the street enjoy a deck in the front, which is a primary view. And some of the decks do go from side to side, as ours does, and as does Ren's. And so a screen may be the best way to do this. We're fine with either a privacy glass planted screen or a fixed wall screen. So we're very happy to work with Ren. We had it scheduled to go up and talk about this, but we couldn't follow through with that. But however, you guys want to handle that, we're open to that. It's just one end, the north end of our railing is that where this privacy screen would take care of the issue.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Cecilia?
No, I have up later. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, in that case, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. And I would tender a motion or a discussion of any items you may wish to bring to our attention. Cecilia.
Thank you. Yeah. I was wondering if there's a new legislation going to council this Tuesday, the citywide affordable housing requirements that will change how much people would have to pay into affordable housing from per unit to square foot. And I'm wondering if this will apply to this, if this would apply to this project, if we were to approve it after this is passed.
It has.
You know that.
I do. Well, I don't have an answer, though. We don't know yet what sort of like what the point will be with the city council for like when the new regulations would apply. So if it would, if they would apply at building, based on your building permit date or based on your entitlement date. So that's not clear yet because it hasn't been adopted.
Okay, thank you. I would be interested in postponing this decision until after that is decided, because I am inclined for this project to pay into affordable housing requirements by square foot rather than by unit.
Thank you. I think based on my experience, Cecilia, postponing the decision wouldn't assure that. It's never been the case that any legislation has been tied to the date of our approval relative to fees, but rather to the time of the application for either, as Samantha said, when they actually applied for this use permit, in which case there's nothing we could do that can change it, or when they apply for the building permit, in which case they would be covered by the new ordinance if that were the date that it was tied to. It's usually tied to the date of application. So
either way, our decision wouldn't affect whether or not it would affect. No, okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Igor, you had your hand up.
Yeah. Well, and I, in truth, have yet to review the substance of the item on Tuesday, but my understanding right now is that the affordable housing mitigation fee would only apply to projects of 4 units or more. And so I think the spirit of this, even if there was a change to square footage, I would be hard pressed to imagine that single family homes would be in the applicability zone for this.
They might be, actually, from what I've read of the report, but as I said, it would be at either a future date or a past date, in which case our vote doesn't affect it. I want to say a few comments about Maurice's offers. I think it's important that those offers are recorded as conditions of any approval we may consider tonight. And I have a thought about how we can enforce that. First item, it sounds like the transportation concerns of the neighbors are thoroughly valid. This is, Maurice has acknowledged, a very narrow road and difficult to use. I think Ren asked that there be a transportation construction plan. That's what we call it, a TCP. Maurice has developed these for all of his projects that require such a plan over the years and would be required to do so here. It is item, Ren, for your benefit, number 29, reported by Russell in the conditions of approval, and does have to be submitted to Vincent Chen, the traffic engineer. Also, that construction plan transportation construction plan, it can be reviewed, run by you and the other neighbors who have this concern, and the contact number is in the conditions that Russell provided tonight. So I think, though, that we should, as a board, specifically take Maurice up on his offer and require that as one of the conditions of that plan, that he give 48-hour notice to the neighbors for any street closures he intends to do anyway by his own testimony. But we'll get that in writing to reassure the neighbors that that is going to happen. And that there will be no closures on days when garbage is being picked up or recycling is being picked up as he promised. But that should be, of course, part of his transportation plan. I assume he intended to include that, but we can make it a condition of approval to be sure it happens. Also, you offered, Maurice, to discuss the pergola with Ren, as well as discussing a privacy glass or other screening system for the north side of the deck. I think this is a matter that should be resolved between neighbors. However, I would like to see Russell's involvement to see that it is handled in a fair and reasonable way. But I am happy to leave it to Russell's judgment that that is the case. He is trained in mediating matters such as this. So I would like to make a condition that Russell is submitted with a resolution to those two concerns of Ren's by the applicant for his review and approval. Make that a condition subject to our approval. That is a condition of his approval. That is a condition of our approval. I think with those things, I could support a motion for approval of the project in all other regards. It conforms to the standards for this district and for the community. So I'd love to hear a motion for approval from a member of the commission. Do I have a motion?
I'll help make a motion to approve.
Thank you,
the
Debbie.
additional conditions of approval that have been mentioned.
Thank you. Michael, I see is that a second?
That's a second, but I think somebody beat me to it.
I recognized you, so it looks like you get the second.
Thank you. That's the second. Thank you.
Good. And I believe another element of the motion I'd like to include, Debbie, with your and Michael's permission, is that Maurice will be investigating bird-safe glass as he offered to do, or screening to assure the safety of the birds. Yes, you have your hand up. We are not voting yet. We're still discussing.
Understood. Thanks. I just wanted to clarify. Isn't the condition of approval number 29 already a transportation construction plan? So we don't need to add. Is that right?
We don't have to. We're not requiring that they do a transportation construction plan that's already a condition. I added some specific components to that plan that we would like to see. The 48-hour notice, which might or might not have been part of that plan, and the restriction on closures during garbage days or recycling days. In other words, that would be part of his plan submitted to Vincent.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further questions or comments, maybe we can get a vote. Shoshana's about to drop here and of exhaustion. And I'm sure she's not the only one. And we still have another item to hear tonight. With your permission, I'd like to take a vote, Samantha.
Okay, I'm going to read back the conditions because I want to make sure.
Yeah, they're a little confusing, yeah.
One of them I'm going to have to write out kind of as I go. So it's to approve 469 Kentucky with the condition that the applicant will investigate bird-safe glass or other measures, to provide 48-hour notice to neighbors for road closures. No road closures on
48.
South.
48 hour.
48 hours.
That was the request from the community. I think it's fair.
And then no closures on solid waste and recycling pickup days. And then to submit screening, privacy screening for review and approval.
And the pergola as well, to be submitted to Russell.
Privacy screening and the pergola.
Yes.
I'm going to say review and approval as part of the building permit, because just what if Russell's not here?
I think I like that.
The staff. The staff.
The staff approval. The assigned planner, of course, would be the
and of course
presumably.
And it will be Russell because he's never allowed to leave. So.
Yeah, that's right. You're sticking around, Russell.
Okay. Okay. Board member Trigub.
Aye.
Duffy.
Aye.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Luna Paro.
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Keefe.
Yes, and I want to confirm I have everyone's attention. I'm going to be leaving after this vote. I'm so sorry. I'm too tired. So, but yes is my vote.
Chair Khan.
Aye.
And Sanderson.
Yes.
Okay, it passes unanimously, and we'll be moving forward with your project, subject to potential appeal. That's it for 469 Kentucky. Thank you, everybody, for coming who spoke tonight on the item. We now have our last item. Thank you, Shoshana, for joining us. Get a good night's sleep. We hope to join you in Slumberland ourselves shortly here.
Thanks, guys. Sorry, I gotta go. Bye.
Okay, so our last item of the evening, 1752 Shattuck Avenue. And who is our planner?
All right, that's going to be Michael Roque, our consultant, and Sharon Gong.
Very good.
And then, yeah.
Let's see Sharon. I don't see Michael up yet. There he is.
And then did we have one? Yeah, okay.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good evening. I know it's a little late in height, so I'll try to move this along as quickly as I possibly can here. Let me just share my screen, make sure everybody can see. I'll run through my presentation as quickly as I can. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Okay. Perfect. Good. Okay. Great. Thank you. So yeah, thank you again for. I'm Michael Roque. I'm a senior contract planner with Encon Consultants, and I'm working as an actual extension of city staff on this project. The following project is located at 1752 Shattuck Avenue, and is requesting a use permit to demolish an existing one-story commercial building and accessory structures and construct a new 7-story mixed-use building utilizing state density bonus law. Just a quick look at the zoning map and the vicinity map. The project site is located on the southwest corner of Francisco Street and Shattuck Avenue. It's located in the commercial corridor district, and the surrounding area consists of a mix of actual commercial and multi-family development. Directly immediately west of the actual project site is actually the Berkeley School of like Early Childhood Center. And then to the east and north of the actual project site is a mix of commercial and also multi-family development. And to the south of the subject site is a mix of commercial, which is personal service and restaurant type uses. Once again, this project is requesting use permits to actually construct a new 7-story mixed-use building and consists of the following primary components. It's 68 dwelling units consisting of 11 studios, 29 2-bedrooms, 28 3-bedrooms, for a total of 153 beds. It is also going to be comprised of approximately 1,200 square feet of ground floor commercial space at the northwest corner of the actual site, with access off of Shattuck Avenue. It's also going to be providing 7 very low income affordable spaces. It's going to have a ground floor parking garage space for 6 vehicle parking spaces with access off of Francisco Street. It's going to have also approximately 2,100 square feet of usable open space, which will be provided on 2 separate roof deck areas on the 7th floor, which will be away from the street frontages. And then finally, the project is also going to be providing some new street trees along Francisco Street and a tall screening hedge at the western site boundary. Once again, the applicant has requested a state density bonus under state density bonus law, and the project qualifies by providing 7 VLI units for a 50% bonus or 23 additional units. And these 23 units will be added to the base project for a total of 68. The applicant is also requesting, pursuant to state density bonus law, 3 concessions, or is granted for 3 based on the density bonus, but is only utilizing 2 of those 3, which are reducing the open space requirement and also reducing the long-term bicycle parking. They are also requesting waivers to exceed building height and FAR. As required, the project did have to go to both LPC and DRC review. At the LPC meeting on September 1st, the LPC took no action on the demolition referral. And at the DRC meeting on September 15th, 2022, the project received a favorable recommendation. Also, pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act, the project was required to prepare like an ISMND. It went through the public review period from September 1st to September 20th for a 20-day period, and also then subsequently it went through the notice of intention was posted to the California State Clearinghouse for a 30-day review period from November 21st to December 21st. Because based on the comment period, a total of 11 comments were actually received. 2 of them were from the same agency. And based on the comments that were received, there were no changes to the ISMND or the associated like MMRP. However, staff, in consultation with the environmental consultant, they did prepare response comments to those letters. Oops. And with that, staff is recommending that the ZAB adopt the ISMND and the associated MMRP and approve the following use permit. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And also on the call tonight is the environmental consultant who did prepare the ISMND. So if there's any questions related to that, they will also be able to like answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Had a little difficulty with my mouse there. Thank you, Michael, for the report. Is Isaiah Stockhouse doing the presentation for the applicant tonight? Any questions first for Michael? Seeing none, is the applicant prepared to join us? I think that would be
I think it's Isaiah Stackhouse, yeah, or JP Walsh is also one of the applicants as well.
David Trachtenberg will be presenting tonight.
Okay. I don't see, oh, there he is, very good.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you need to let me share my screen, please.
Karen, can you make that happen?
Yes. I'm moving him back over real quick.
I think he's on as a panelist now.
See if you can share your screen, David.
Yeah, okay. Let's share the screen. Just a second, please. Screen sharing failed. Okay. Hold on just a second here. Are you seeing my screen?
Not yet.
Really? Huh. Just a second then. I'm not sure why. Okay, let me try this another way. Okay, do you see it now?
There it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you for your time, everybody, tonight. Appreciate you staying up late. So here we are. Okay, let me do the full screen version. Okay, I'll quickly run you through this thing. So I'm David Trachtenberg with Trachtenberg Architects, and we are representing panoramic interests tonight at 1752 Shattuck Avenue. So as the planner suggested or recapped, our project includes 68 units. They're broken up into 11 studios, which is 16%, and 29 two bedrooms at 43%, and 28 three bedrooms at 41%. Commercial space of 1,210 square feet and open space of 2,100 square feet. There's the site, currently a gas station, as you can see in this view right here. You've seen these in your packet, so this is just the context. Quickly run you through the floor plan. Main entrance off of Shattuck Avenue, where we have resident lounge and leasing office and cafe or commercial space at the corner, and automobile entry here to a 6-car parking structure. Plans at levels 2 through 6 are a combination of studios, 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, compact units. We're a quarter of a mile from the campus, and we see this very likely being attractive to graduate students and perhaps young professors. Plan level 7 with the roof deck on the east side. I'm sorry, on the west side of the roof, and the landscape plan, which we can discuss in further detail. There's a section of the building. So on these sites, we're often faced with the complex problem of being adjacent to other properties, very often residential, smaller scale residential properties. We do our best to scale these things back, but we also have to achieve the program that we're given. In this case, this is a solution. So you'll see that the setbacks do have quite a powerful impact in terms of shadows and so on. Here's the street view along Francisco Street, and the street view below along Shattuck Avenue. A close-up showing the palette of materials. We've broken up the mass in sort of 3 major pieces along this facade, which shows a high-quality rain screen, Parklex wood screen on this northernmost side, and integral color stucco on the other 2 elements. ground floor entry and retail, as you can see. Francisco side as well. And the west elevation facing of Berkeley Montessori School. And the south elevation. Here's the view from Shattuck looking northwest and from the southwest. So you can see how we've tried to sort of break down this scale. I think we've done that quite successfully. I'd point out that there's some changes since the DRC hearing. This is the DRC hearing on the left and what we're proposed now today on the right. And it's based largely on recommendations from the DRC, which are as follows. We've broken up the apparent mass by introducing a third color on the east elevation. We simplified the window pattern at the bedrooms. You can see these are the windows for the bedrooms, and now they're just a lot simpler. Revised the living rooms, which are these double wide windows, to read as a single 6-story sort of column instead of 2-story pieces. And we've increased the thickness of the band here between floors 1 and 2, which was another recommendation of the DRC. Shadow studies. Let's move this.
You have 1 minute left.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to shadow studies if people have questions about them. How about that? Okay. And down. And an existing view here and proposed view. And another existing view from the other direction and proposed view. And from Francisco Street, the proposed view. And another view of Francisco. And just some detailed views of the building. Here's the entry piece with the retail in the corner to the right. And a view along the sidewalk. We've tried to take good care in making a really, we think, a beautiful building and something that's going to be, to really give a nice place for pedestrians and passersby. Here's a corner view and the same view at night. So thank you. Look forward to your questions.
Thank you for the presentation, David. Any questions for the architect? Seeing none, I'm going to open it to the public. And once again, I would ask that everybody who wishes to speak on this, let me know in advance so I can get a speaker list, send me a speaker list and be sure that everyone's provided that opportunity. I see Kelly, Daniel, Nico, Elise, and Ashley. There's the 5 people that will speak on this subject tonight, unless someone else raises their hand now. Doug. Okay. Very good. So we'll start with Kelly. You're at the top of the list. You're up.
Thank you. David, you get the prize tonight for having the fewest native plants in your landscape plan. And I would ask staff, since, you know, I attend your meetings regularly, I'm going to bring this up every time, that we should just ask the developers to name which plants are California natives and start looking at having a standard of a minimum of 70%. And with this particular, David, with you, this is consistent that we see so many non-native plants. And I would really hope that in the future that you would correct it on this plan, and that in the future we would see a greater effort. And I would suggest that you start using calscape.org. It's very easy, and start picking plants that are native to our area, and they will survive better with less care. I'd ask that you consider bird safe glass, make sure that you have all down lighting, respecting dark skies. And, you know, it's kind of disappointing since you do a lot of building in Berkeley. And it's just disappointing to see this time after time. And I would also suggest, I will send this to you. I found your email for Douglas Talamay. He spoke at the Golden Gate Audubon this week. That will be recorded. And I would suggest you pick up his book and watch some of the videos, and then that might change your mind about the importance of bird safe glass and bird safe features and native plants. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Next we have Daniel Silver.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, I'm Daniel Silver. I live at 1725 Shattuck Avenue, across the street from the proposed development at 1752, and I've been living here for over 20 years. I'm concerned about the project for a number of reasons. One is that I think this is a very high-risk site. I don't think any organization has properly analyzed the soil or groundwater since 1994. I mean, as you know, the site was a gas station from 1933 till the early 80s. After that, it was an auto repair shop, and until very recently. The site had 3 underground storage tanks for gas, 1 for oil, which does create a risk of pollution and contamination for site dwellers. It does not appear that there has been any physical examination of the site's soil or groundwater since 1994. And even in that case, it's unclear what was actually done in 1994. Now, as stated in paragraph 1.4 of the Phase 1 ESA conducted in September 2021, ACC environmental consultants made no attempt to actually inspect the soil, water, or soil vapor of the property. Since the site is essentially paved and has been used as a place of car repair, oil change nearly continuously, I think the city of Berkeley should really conduct a proper analysis of the underground soil and groundwater for contaminants, which would require actually getting under the pavement to the areas where the USTs were. I know there has been a phase 2 analysis, but it was only for soil vapor and was only for dry cleaning chemicals. Again, I do not believe that anything was done about soil or water analysis. I also do believe that the project is unnaturally tall, 7 stories. There's no property nearby here that is anywhere near as high. It's twice the height of my building, and it will plunge my building in darkness as well as the preschool. Finally, the bicycle parking situation is laughable. There will only be 18 bike parking locations for a place with 68 units and 153 bedrooms and no residential parking permits. We probably have 18 bikes in our garage, and we only have 1/3 as many units and 1/3 as many bedrooms. This is a pretty high crime area. Where's everybody going to put their bikes? I do believe that the waiver should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Next we have Nico.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, sorry about that. Appreciate it. Hi, I'll be quick tonight. Thank you all for taking the time, staying up so late. My name is Nico Nagel, speaking on behalf of the Housing Action Coalition. Speaking briefly, just to give support for the project. Full disclosure, the Housing Action Coalition has not reviewed the project in our standard way, but I can speak generally to this type of housing tonight. Number one, I think the idea that this is a project type that is not in the area is a feature, not something that will plunge homes into darkness with shade. We are in the midst of a housing crisis, and one of the absolute necessities is to build a lot of housing to help stabilize that problem in the medium and long term. And so projects like these are how we get there. I'm just going to make a quick comment on the environmental issue that was brought up before. My understanding is, that is not the only analysis phase 1 and phase 2 that is done. And there is planning that is done with the city, the county, and state enforcement agencies down the line to ensure that any problems, one, that problems are studied, if there's a history of environmental concerns on the site, and two, that there are contingency plans that are fairly routine that come up in terms of how to deal with problems that come up during construction. So, the information that we have at this time may not be the full scope of information. And so I don't foresee that being as big of a concern as this is being brought up right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico. Next, we have Elise Kuski and then Ashley. Elise, you are, as soon as I can get my mouse to work, recognized.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I know it's late for everyone, so hopefully we're all still awake and hopefully I'll make some sense here, but I appreciate your time. There are a couple items I wanted to review. I am a neighbor over on the Walnut Street side, but directly across from the Francisco. So obviously the size of the building and scope is of significant concern. One thing I first wanted to mention, maybe more a little procedural, just is that if you could make note in your staff report, page 13 of the 23, under point 4, community discussion. There's a point A, talks about neighborhood/community concerns. And I believe there's erroneous information that is reported here. It says that on November 22nd, 2022, the city mailed public hearing notices, blah, blah, blah. And it goes down to, at the time of writing this report, staff has not received public communications regarding the project. So I know myself and numerous neighbors have sent in communications. So I think this is very misleading to say that here. And for those of you on the zoning board reading, if you don't read any further than this, it is very misleading. So I want to put that on there for the record, that the staff report needs to be amended with pertinent information. The second point is just going down to the building itself relative to the height issues. As you can see, that 7-story building amongst a block on the side it's on of 1 to 2 stories, and then on the east side. 20
seconds left, Elise.
On the east side of the block, it goes up to 4 to 5 stories. I really believe this is out of character for the neighborhood, and it's going to be a significant impact, and would like to see the building limited to the 5 stories. The last point, also relative to that.
You're out of time, Elise. If you could just wrap up, please.
Okay, so just the other point is 1650 Shattuck Avenue, right next to City Council member Kate Harrison's street and residence. We have a 4-story building that is recommended. And so it really feels like that is much more in character with the building of the block, and this one is out. And then the last thing is relative to social.
I cut you off. Everyone gets 2 minutes, and you're going way over. So thank you so much. So Ashley, you're recognized.
Thank you, everyone. I know it's very late. I'll keep this very brief because I'm probably repeating what other folks have said, but my name is Ashley Schaefer Yildiz. I'm a resident of 2026 Francisco, just a few doors down from the proposed site. My husband and I have 3 small children. We have a number of concerns about this project. 2 of them, which I would highlight, is just the lack of parking. 153 bedrooms with only 6 parking spaces is just a major concern and makes absolutely no sense. Our street already has major parking issues due to, nearby businesses, the preschool next door. People are consistently blocking our driveway. It's incredibly difficult to find a parking place on our street, and this is going to make it very bad. So really concerned about that. And then also similar to what other folks have said, we're concerned about the project height. So a 7-story building over 80 feet just feels excessively tall for our neighborhood. No nearby properties north of Hearst have buildings anywhere near that high. And the building has a very industrial feel. I think it's going to, limit the sunshine for the preschool next door, and really just going to bring, I feel it's going to ruin our quaint, peaceful neighborhood. I would definitely recommend more of a 4-story building if possible. The families in our neighborhood have lived here for decades, and I just think it will be detrimental to our way of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Doug has reappeared, so you will speak, Doug, if you wish.
Yes, please. There's a couple things I'd like to talk about. The first is I think we're coming to this much too quickly. There's some issues that were not addressed, public comments that have been raised about the environmental issues that were not addressed in the comments in the report. The groundwater contamination is really a big issue, as was previously said. The toxic contamination, and even though the initial MND said the nearest school is UC Berkeley, in fact, the preschool is right next door, and there's potentially some significant toxic contamination that will be raised because of this uprooting of the site of the gas station that's been there for almost 100 years. As other people have mentioned, the parking issue is a really going to be a exacerbating problem for the neighborhood. There'll be further impact on traffic with deliveries and services there. The plan for the bicycle is absurd, absolutely absurd. If the idea is to not have parking spaces, then there's not enough bicycle parking either. And so in aggregate, between these issues and then with the height of the building, I mean, I'm completely, as my neighbors are, I live on Francisco Street, are in favor of affordable housing. The height of this building is completely out of character with the space. You can see that very clearly in the very first picture David showed, where it's just wildly taller than anything next to it. So it just does not fit in, not appropriate to the space. It's more than 50% additional height to the building, even though it only gets a 50% bonus over the amount. So environmental issues have not been considered. On top of that, parking is a problem, bicycle plan is absurd, and height is completely out of character and inappropriate for the space.
Yeah, well, thank you, Doug. I'm glad you got a chance to speak. That's it for the public comment. And everyone that raised their hand and was listed has spoken. I'd like to bring it back to the applicant to give you an opportunity to address concerns voiced by members of the community. And you have 3 minutes.
Sorry, we have 3 minutes to respond?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll do my best. First off with Kelly, native plants, totally agree with you. We need more native plants. I disagree with you. I have to say, Kelly, that this is a pattern for us. I don't think that's the case, but we'll certainly change the palette with our landscape architect to native plants. Bird safe glass. The ordinance is very, if there's even an ordinance, we're not really even clear yet. But we'll do whatever the ordinance says. Our sense of it, and it's vague from what the city has on the website, is that buildings with more than 50% glazing need bird safe glass. Ours does not have that. Of course, all of our lighting is down lighting. We're quite familiar with the night sky issues. Doug Talamay, I have his book. I'm quite familiar with him. Daniel's questions, groundwater. I'm going to defer to our client who's going to address that question better than I can. Elise, out of scale, out of character. I'm sensitive to the fact that these are large buildings. I hear you about this, but this is what we're charged with doing now. This is coming down from the state of California, is trying to address a dire need, and this is how the state of California and architects and developers and planners are dealing with this question. Doug Halpern, raises a question of toxic issues. Again, I'm going to defer to our client here and let JP Walsh address that last question. If you can promote JP, please.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments, David, and I will call JP if I can find him over here. Don't see him. Oh, there. There's a Danielle Walsh.
Well, I know he's there somewhere.
Using Danielle's computer.
Danielle's raising their hand if you want to at least check.
Must
Okay,
be a
Danielle,
relative.
Danielle, call on Danielle, please.
Okay, very good.
I have a question. Do I reset the time for him or just let him have the remainder of the time that we have left?
I want, if there are responses to the neighbors' concerns, I want the neighbors to hear them. But it should be part of the same time, which I've also got going here.
Okay.
So I may extend the time if we need it to be sure that the neighbors' concerns are addressed. So yes, Danielle, you are recognized, but you're just muted yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, I assume this is not Danielle.
This is not Danielle, but Danielle has borrowed my computer from time to time, so that's what happens. But thank you all for your time today, and I really appreciate the board's comments.
Could you identify yourself, please, sir?
This is JP Walsh here at Panoramic Interest. We are the project sponsor of 1752 Shattuck Avenue.
Thank you, JT.
So I would like to thank everyone for your comments, and I think it'd be helpful to provide a summary of some of the environmental concerns, especially the groundwater contaminant that we are aware of. We have found traces of PCE on the site, which is a chemical associated with the dry cleaning industry. There is no known on-site source of this chemical. Based on historical and recent investigations, it appears that the PCE is coming from an off-site source. A former dry cleaner was located across the street on Francisco Street, and there is another dry cleaner 2 blocks to the north. As pointed out earlier, Shell did remove some underground storage tanks in the properties on the property in the late 80s, early 90s. This work was supervised by the Water Board, and they issued a no further action letter in 1994. We will also engage with a lot of regulatory oversight agencies on this project, whether it be DTSC, the Water Board, Alameda County. This will ensure the development and construction proceed safely and to ensure the protection of human health and the environment. In addition, we do have a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and we have submitted our phase 1 and phase 2 to the Toxics Management Division of Berkeley. During construction, we have our COAs, our conditions of approval for a soil management plan, stormwater management plan, dust control plan. So we will be following all regulations with the site, with the close oversight of several agencies.
Great, thank you for that, JT. Any questions from this commission for David or JT regarding concerns you may have as commissioners or unanswered concerns of the constituency? Igor.
Thank you. So I just wanted, actually, I learned something new today in going through this. I didn't realize that there were minimum parking requirements for bicycles. I'm glad that there are now. I was curious, how you came up with the number 18 for bicycles, and hearing concerns from members of the public requesting that or wishing there would be more bicycle spaces, which are perhaps the units themselves can accommodate bicycles, but if you could please address that.
Sure, David, I will take a shot at this question. Thank you, Igor. This is based on experience, Igor, in our other properties in Berkeley. For example, 2539 Telegraph, we have over 200 bike parking spaces, and approximately 8 to 9% of them are used at a maximum. Given the close proximity to campus, most students who will be tenants of the property will be, walking on foot, taking Ubers to other locations, or it's a half a mile from the BART, and this is in a transit-rich, high-resource area. So the amount of bike parking that our tenants will utilize is minimal, as we've seen with our other properties.
Thank you, JT, for the response. Other questions or comments from the commissioners? Igor?
Actually, this is just a request to staff, or maybe this is just should this be approved? I know that I couldn't find a condition that we have added in another project tonight around minimum bicycle parking. So I or someone else might be requesting that heads up. Also, on page 2 of findings and conditions, there is a reference to condition 64 for the base project, and I believe it actually ties into condition 28 and 29. Thank you.
Would you mind saying that one more time for me, just so I can look that up while you guys continue?
Yeah, bottom of page 2, findings and conditions, Roman numeral 2, number 1, letter B, as more fully set forth in condition 64. I believe this should be condition 28 and or 29.
Thank you. I'll look into that.
Cecilia.
Thank you. Yeah, I was wondering about the reasoning for having this building be mixed use rather than using the first floor for housing as well.
I can speak to that. It's very difficult to have good dwelling units on the first floor when you aren't able to raise them much above grade. So that's the primary reason why we don't do that. And we also felt that if we did, I don't think residence is even allowed on the ground floor in this zone. Sometimes we've done live work on the ground floor. But I don't think that would be allowed either. We just feel that in general, a small cafe or a small retail space is something that will enliven the sidewalk in the neighborhood.
I have kind of a follow-up question. We're not used to seeing any parking spaces. I know there was some concern on the voiced by the community about the lack of parking. This is actually more than lately this commission has seen, and I was curious. I have no object. I'm just curious as to why the difference. I mean, I think your clients' projects typically have no parking at all.
Yeah, very often, especially so close to downtown, most of our projects don't have any parking at all. But this is, a leasing-driven decision. I think that there needs to be some small amount of parking in order to attract, to fill up the building.
And I would add to that, David, it's helpful too for the commercial space on the corner to have a bit of parking for that operating business. We've been in touch with the North Shattuck Business Association, and there is no members of that group on this call tonight, but I know they're supportive of the project, and parking for a commercial tenant in the future would be helpful.
Well, I would like small cold comfort, I'm sure, for the neighbors who have concerns about parking, but I would like to note that that is unusual in the projects we're seeing today to see even 6 parking spaces. Igor, you have your hand up.
Yeah, and sorry to piggyback off of that. I was curious. I saw that there was a transportation demand management program included in the conditions, and that's great. Have you considered allocating one of the parking spaces to a gig car or other ride share program? Also, and this could have just been my oversight, I could not offhand find a condition, since you are going to have parking for EV ready parking or charging infrastructure. And maybe that second question is more for staff, and if it's not in there, we should probably add it.
Absolutely. Yeah, all the new buildings which have parking have some percentage which are EV ready, as you're familiar. In terms of gig car share, they won't park in a private garage. Their whole model is that they're placing cars in the community, and you find them with your phone app. So there's really no utility in using a space for a gig car.
That's been my experience as well, Igor. Thank you for the question. Thanks for the comments. I have a couple of comments for the community that came out to speak tonight. Just speaking at a personal level, I agree that 7 stories is currently out of scale with the neighborhood is built. I think this is the direction of the future for projects on Shattuck, and it is, as the architect mentioned, essentially mandated by the state. We have been stripped of our power to deny projects of this type that are meeting the regulatory limits imposed by our code. If they meet those limits, they're protected under the Housing Accountability Act. We can't deny the project. If they, in addition, provide very low income units, and I think 7 very low income units are being provided, we're also obligated through the state density bonus law to prove the additional height, which is why it's going up. Essentially, we have to provide with more market rate units to help pay for those very low income units, which are a burden, a significant financial burden on the project. So I'm delighted to have more housing. I'm delighted to participate in a small effort to address our state's housing crisis. It is through the accumulated small efforts such as this that we might build our way out of the ridiculous rents that people have to pay for housing, and get some people off the streets eventually. So, but we don't have a choice anyway. So we have to approve the project despite the size. I also am concerned, JT, that you might have a little bike parking problem being a half a mile from BART, that there may be greater demand on the part of your residents for more parking, but you are entitled, again, through the state density bonus law, to reduce from the 51, which otherwise would be required, to 18 as a cost saving measure. And we cannot refuse you. So if you think that's the number that you need, we have to approve it. We don't get to have a choice. We can offer our opinions, but we can't say no. So I'm gonna vote tonight for the project, and as submitted. Speaking as a member of the design review committee, I very much appreciate the modifications, David, that you've made. I think it's a handsomer building, particularly on Shattuck with the tripartite French flag kind of look. So I would entertain a motion unless we have more to hear from this commission. Do I have a motion? Yes.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the ISMND and the MMRP, as well as approve the project as proposed.
Thank you. Yes. Do I have a second? Igor, your hand is up.
Yeah, I will second if you are amenable to adding few cleanup measures. I think the one just I only mention it because it's in the findings, so it's kind of sacrosanct, but replacing condition 64 with whatever the reference correct condition is. I think it's 28 or 29 on page 2. And then to the extent that this is not already included, adding EV charging infrastructure standard condition, adding a condition of a minimum of 18 bike spaces in the project, and with a Port Kelly strong recommendation to increase the palette of native plants and consider the use of bird safe class.
Before we take a vote, yes, are those amendments to your?
Thank you, Igor. I appreciate it. Yes.
David, you did indicate that you would be willing to consider an increase in the percent of natives. Do you have a specific number in mind?
I don't have any number in mind. We're totally in agreement about the native plants. So whatever the commission in their wisdom thinks is appropriate.
The 70% is a number that Kelly mentioned in her testimony. Is that something that would be acceptable to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
One thing I would say about that, Charles, is part of the consideration for the planting was screening for some of our neighbours. So I think we would absolutely try and maximize the number of native plants in the project, but we're also trying to be good neighbours with the Berkeley.
I appreciate that point, JT, and I'd like to make a friendly amendment to your proposal, yes, and Igor, that we raise the percentage of plants to 70%, but exclude the screening elements from that requirement if there are better and more effective plants to do that job.
Good call.
Yes, I'm amenable to that.
Beautiful.
And again, I too really appreciate the neighbors coming out, and just want to echo Chair Khan's comments. State law really limits the discretion of the Zoning Adjustments Board and, frankly, planning commissions across the state. And one may make normative, value statements about whether that is good or bad. But we are a quasi-judicial body, and it is actually not up to us as a body to make those types of value statements. Our role is to we must approve things that we are required to approve, and we do have some discretion over certain other elements. And we did our best, I think, to listen to the neighbors and exercise the discretion where we could.
Thank you, Igor. Well said. So I'd like to, with that, if there are no further amendments to the motion, call a vote. Samantha.
I have a clarifying question before we vote.
Yes.
There was an addition of a condition for EV vehicles, but that is included as condition number 35.
Oh, did I apologize.
Okay. I was worried that we missed it.
It's there. Okay. I take that back. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. It's really nice to know that someone reads like every word of our reports, because people work very hard on them. So that's good. Okay. So this is for 1752 Shattuck to adopt the ISMND and the mitigation monitoring reporting program, to fix the reference on page 2 of the findings to the correct conditions, reference the correct conditions, add the bike parking standard condition with the minimum number, And then to increase the number of native plants to 70% excluding screening. Did I get everything? Okay.
Everything I had, yes.
Okay. Trigu,
Aye.
Duffy,
Aye.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Lunapara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Keith is not here. Chair Khan
Aye.
and Sanderson.
Yes.
Ayes and yeses have it. Okay, so we have a unanimous approval for this use permit. And I don't know if that concludes our work tonight. I haven't looked at the. Do we have any reports that we need to do? Subcommittee reports, design review committee. No real report there. Jen, do you have anything? No. Staff communications.
No. Staff communications.
There's something about Cherry Street.
Oh, the Cherry Street, 2830 Cherry Street was an appeal, an AUP appeal. It was on the draft agenda, but not on the final agenda. That was withdrawn by the appellant. So I just wanted to make note of that.
Before we close out, what kind of hearing do we have to look forward to in February, Samantha? Are we gonna have a big docket like this one, or is it gonna be more reduced? What do you anticipate?
We have, I had my thing open. It's very slow to open. I believe we have 4 or 5 items.
Okay. And then Debbie had a question, which I share about, is there a date certain yet when we'll be returning to in-person meetings, and we can bring coffee for each other and
yes,
snacks?
It's expected that Governor Newsom will lift the emergency order on March 1st, effective March 1st, which means a return to in-person boards and commissions. So our first in-person meeting would be March 9th, unless the emergency order is extended.
Okay, so what would you advise, that we plan on coming on the 9th unless we hear otherwise?
Yes.
And that will be at the old school facility.
At the boardroom campus. Okay. At the BUSD boardroom.
And we'll get directions for those members of the commission who've never been there.
Yeah, we'll definitely reach out. I think we have said this last time. We're really fortunate to have that great space.
It's a lovely space
to meet in. And it looks like there's a good chance we're going to have hybrid capabilities for the public.
Okay.
We all still have to be there.
Okay.
But yeah,
I like the
I do too.
Hybrid public capability means that people can join who otherwise might not be able to get there.
Yes, so that we're gonna do a practice later this month.
Yeah, good luck.
Really hoping.
Hybrid's tough.
Yeah, really hoping that we can pull that off. That's our goal.
Well, in that case, I'll see you all for what may be our last Zoom meeting.
We have the February 9th and the 23rd.
Oh, the 9th and the 23rd. Okay, our last 2 meetings.
Yeah.
And we will be voting for a new chair at which of those meetings?
February 23rd.
All right, very good.
So there will be more information about that on the upcoming agenda. We'll provide the historic information about who's held the chair and the vice chair, and so you'll have time in between meetings to have that information.
Great. Okie dokie. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Oh, we have to vote to adjourn.
Oh, I so move. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Debbie. We have a motion. We have a second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. I know you got to take a voice.
Board Member Trigu.
Aye.
Duffy,
Aye.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Lunapara,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Keefe is not here. Chair Khan and Sanderson.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Right, very good. Enjoy the
Thank
rest
you.
of your night. Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.